Hey guys, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are guys. I hope you're having a really good day. Today we're doing something quite exciting. We're going to build a Keymax. So last time I had a Keymax on the stream, it was already pre-built and it was this one here that you can see. If you look in the top just there, you'll see it. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. And then I'm going to build a new one, which is really exciting. Let's see who got first today. Anarchy got first. He says, good evening, Jay. I bought myself a new old board today. I like a bit of vintage stuff. I do. Vintage stuff is what gets me going sometimes. And Anarchy has one of the collections I would kill for. I would genuinely love to have half of his collection. I really would. He shared some pictures as well, so if you're interested in those, do check them out. Anarchy, please share those pictures again. I've already had a good look, and I'll probably be messaging you in the next few days to try and take a look. Static Age, thank you so much for the follow, man. I fully appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Double and triple shot caps, Anarchy says. Double and triple shot caps. With a key mechanism, a bit like Peerless, but also had discrete domes over PCB. Sounds super interesting. Sounds really cool. Josh is here as well. He says, good evening. I am Karcher says, oh my, good evening. Hey guys, glad to see you. Moozerite is here as well. He says, hey Jay in chat. Arcane is here as well, saying hello and checking out the build. Who else have we got? We've got Ferris as well, saying, good evening, Jay. Good evening, I'm glad to see you. Zach is here as well, saying, ooh, I've been interested in the Keymax for ages. So have I. I have two. I'm genuinely stoked and lucky enough to be able to say I have two Keymax. I bought both of them. These are not streamer freebies or anything like that. I have bought and paid for both of them in full. The first one is with Salmons, which came pre-built, which is on my desk at the side of me, and if you look just up here, you'll see it in this box here. It's down here. I love that board. And Anarchy, thank you so much for the subscription. A month already. How is it a month? Thank you so much, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So I've already got this one. It's got Salmon Alps in it. We'll talk a bit about that board later on. And then we're going to take a look at the new board, which is going to have these in it, which are Brown Alps switches. You won't be able to see these through the bag, but I promise you they are Brown Alps switches. I did get some Brown Alps with the board, but I'm not going to use those. I'm going to use my own. That's purely because I've had these Alps ready and lubed for a while for another build. I'm going to steal them and use them for this one. But the Alps that I did get with this board, they're some of the cleanest ones I've ever seen. These are unbelievably nice and in good condition. But yeah, we're going to be building with, I've got two bags of these. I've got these two bags here. These are going to be the switches we're going to use today, and I'm really excited to share the journey because I don't know how this goes together. I've only had a fully assembled kit before, and I've taken it apart and had a look, but I haven't actually built one of these yet, so I'm really excited for this. I did tag Willem, who's the guy behind the Keymax earlier on. I do so wish I could one day have a chat with him rather than it just be emails backwards and forwards, because he seems like one of the most interesting guys in the world. If you guys are interested in this, you can check it out. If you use the build command, !build, you guys can see exactly where I bought this from and exactly what the prices are and all of that. They're not cheap, but I'll talk about why they're not cheap in a little while. And I think if you're like me and you like a good keyboard, you'll think these are good value for money by the end of it. I think. But let's see when we build it. Maybe I have a different opinion. Static says, glad to see you're streaming here now too. Yeah, I needed an outlet for Prototypist because we're doing a lot of Prototypist streams in the workshop. So as well as doing build streams here on keyboards, I also do workshop streams where we make plates, we make keyboard parts, we do quality control. We're going to do some other maker stuff non-related to keyboards where I'm going to make things like holders for pogs and cases for playing card decks and all sorts of other stuff, car upgrades, car changes and fixes, you name it. There's going to be a load of stuff that we're going to do on there as well. Basically think like my Insta stories, but expanded. If you guys have seen my Insta stories, you'll know just what I'm like. If each of those Insta stories was a video, maybe you guys wouldn't watch it because it'd be too much, but maybe if I do a stream a couple of times a week, you guys might be interested in seeing that. I am Karcher. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. I thoroughly appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Arcana says, this will be fun. Yeah, it's going to be really fun. Really fun. Moozeride saying, how's the back? It's getting better. It's not perfect, and I went to the gym for the first time this morning in a long time. Like since I did my back, I haven't been to the gym at all because I haven't been able to move, and instantly I did too much. Pork Sausage Thief, what a great username. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that subscription, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, so whilst my back is getting better, I did too much today, and I shouldn't have done as much as I did. We're on the hype train now, guys. That's the hype train. Pork Sausage Thief, you're the hype train conductor. So I didn't do anything too strenuous. I just did a little bit on the rowing machine and a little bit. Well, I did a little bit on the exercise bike. I did a little bit. It was all cardio based today. I did a little bit on the exercise bike, and then I did a little bit on the rowing machine. It's a rowing machine that did. I thought it'd be nice and gentle, but it was actually the starting pull. It was the first pull, which is always the hardest on a rowing machine. That's what did my back in today again. But it's okay. It's not as bad as it was. And it's getting there. Jay Shuff, thank you so much. Thank you for that subscription. Thank you so much. We are moving up on the hype train. I think this is the first hype train prototype it's had. So thank you guys. Thank you. So yeah, hopefully if I take it easy with the workouts, and I start physiotherapy in 2 weeks as well for my back, so that should help as well. That should help as well. Geeky Ed is here as well. He says, sup man. Glad to see you. Zach says, I guess if you have two, you'll probably have to give one away. No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. Epic Flying Bulbs, good evening. Glad to see you here. Pork Sausage Steve says, totally worth it. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you, guys. It means more than I can tell you that you guys like my content enough to subscribe or whatever. It genuinely means the world to me, so thank you so much for that. Arcana says, I need to start working out. I'm weak as hell. Yeah, I'm not the most active person, and I do have a bit of a belly on me, but I'm physically always I'm always doing something that enables me to keep my strength up, even if it doesn't get rid of the weight. So technically I'm quite reasonably physically fit. I just have a bit of chub on top of that. Let's put it that way. I like nice things too much. Let's put it that way. Nice food. Jay Shift says, glad to see you healing. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's definitely getting better. It's been improving day by day. I'm down to taking painkillers once a day now, and that's when I go to sleep. Apart from this morning after the gym when I did need them again. But yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better. A year of sitting at my PC has not done me good. Oh man. Struggle to do a few press-ups. Hey man, if you struggle to do a few press-ups now, but you do a few press-ups every day, soon you'll be struggling to do 20 press-ups, and then soon after that you'll be struggling to do 50 press-ups, and by the end of a month you'll be struggling to do 100 press-ups, and you'll think back, oh, I couldn't do even a couple of press-ups at the beginning of the month, and you'll feel really good about it. So definitely try and do that. Cezanne, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And Ukulele Dad, raiding with a party of 3. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be building a modern keyboard that's very much vintage inspired. We're going to be talking about that shortly. So thank you very much for that. Bartowski, thank you so much for the Prime subscription. Thank you so much, man. I thoroughly appreciate that. So good. Varys says, was surprised to see you managed to get in the gym this morning with the bad back. Hope you didn't overdo it too much. It was that first pull on the rowing machine, and I knew as soon as I did the pull that it was too much for my back. Once it was up to speed, it wasn't so bad, but then as soon as I stopped, I was in pain. It's still not great now, but today's the first time I've needed painkillers during the day for a couple of days. It's normally just when I go to bed, but it's getting there. Like the where I slipped the disc in my back, that's definitely back in place now, but it's just sore all around it. Pork Sausage Thief, thank you so much for gifting a sub. Thank you. You're the first person to gift a sub. And that's gone to Kajahata. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Fairy9 says, I got my first group buy with you the other day. Congratulations. Congratulations. There are a lot of people getting in on group buys at the minute. So congratulations on being part of that club. Keep Noob, hey man, good to see you. Congrats on all the Switch sales today. Dude, the banana splits have sold like crazy. And I mean like crazy. Normally, if I do a group buy for Switches, I'll sell less than 10,000 Switches in the group buy. And I'll usually buy maybe that amount as well. So I'll have maybe 20,000 in total. I'm already way past that on just the banana splits alone. And it's making me worried that I didn't buy enough alpacas for in stock for the weekend. And I bought more alpacas than I did ceruleans and lavenders and everything else. So now I'm a little bit worried that when the alpacas go live on Saturday morning, it's not going to be enough. But we'll see. We'll see. I know. Dev says, what job did you do before going into the keyboard business? So technically I'm unemployed at the minute. So legally and officially I'm unemployed. I don't have any income. I don't have any official job, but I am the owner and managing director of Prototypist. And technically, because I don't pay myself and I don't take any money out of the business, I'm a volunteer. So I'm a retired volunteer managing director. That's my official legal status here in the UK right now. Before I did this, I used to work for a large financial institution in the UK, and I was a senior program manager. So basically my role was to manage large-scale infrastructure rollouts to the actual bank network. Josh, thank you so much for the 100 bits, man. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you. That means more to me than I can say. Oh, thank you. So I used to manage large-scale, multi-million-pound infrastructure rollouts, multi-billion-pound at one point infrastructure rollouts across an entire bank's network. That was what I did for a job. My job was to run all of the programs and all of the stuff underneath that. So yeah, and I finished doing that in April. April the 14th was my last day, 2 months ago now. So I've been retired for 2 months officially, legally. This guy says, you could say that people went bananas for the banana splits. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I apologize. My hay fever is really bad. Whoa. Bless me. Hay fever. Terrible hay fever. Excuse me, man. That hay fever has really got to me today. The past couple of days has been really bad, and usually I don't get hay fever this bad, but past couple of days, not a pretty sight. EPBT Origami with Desmat and Novelties. That was your first group buy. Congratulations. Not a bad one to join. Bartowski says, can't decide alpaca or banana splits. So the alpacas will be in stock. They won't be a group buy. They will be in stock. They're in the warehouse right now. They're bagged up. They'll be in stock. They will ship Monday, Tuesday next week. The banana splits are a group buy, so they're not going to ship for a little while. So it really depends on whether you need switches now or later on. Jay's a confirmed pensioner. No, I'm not a pensioner. I'm not legally allowed to draw on my pension until I'm 65. So I'm not a pensioner. I'm just retired. Slight difference, but I get where you're going at. I guess always not buying enough is a good thing, but you have a large customer base to shift that amount of switches. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because some switches do really well and some switches don't. And even if I'm trying not to buy the same amount of every switch. I'm trying to guess which is going to sell better than others. But with no data or information to go on, that's not the easiest thing to do. But we'll see. We'll see. Arcana says, will you be watching the England versus Scotland game tomorrow? I'm not really a football fan, soccer fan for you guys outside of the UK, so probably not. Probably not. I'm probably not going to be watching that. What Desmat is this? This Desmat is from the JTK Tianwen 1 group buy. I actually featured this on my last build stream and talked about it there, so if you're interested in that, you can check out the old build stream. It's on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel now with all of the videos uploaded. All the streams will now be onto YouTube after they've been finished recording. So there you go. What chair is that? This is the Nui chair, N-E-U-E-U chair. I bought it about August last year and it's excellent. 100% recommend it. Ferris says, were the alpacas and silent alpacas the only switches that came in that 60k package? No, the 60,000 switches I got was made up of other things as well that I can't talk about just yet. But I will be able to talk about them soon, so keep your eyes peeled on Insta stories and all will be revealed soon, I'm sure. I Watch Manga, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Do I have a bus pass? No, I got to be 70 for that, I think. 72, 65, 72, something like that. You got to be in your late 60s, early 70s for a bus pass. Definitely can't get that. Might get both then. You do that, Bartowski, you do that. Zach says, when do you get your chippy tea on the cheap? Whenever you buy me one. Let's put it that way. You come to the Prototypist workshop, you can buy me a chippy lunch. I will hold you to that. What switches I have in the keyboard that I'm currently using? In this keyboard here. I can't remember. It's really bad that I can't remember what's in there. Let me just click somewhere. I'm not going to type anything. I have alpacas. There you go. I have alpacas in there. Golden Ratio, thank you so much for the subscription, man. Thoroughly appreciate that. Thank you so much. And 6 months in advance. Dude, that's nuts. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, so there you go, Sashan. I have got alpacas in this board right now. Geeky Ed says, why should I buy banana splits over other linear switches? You like the look of them? You like the sound profile of them? I don't know. It's up to you. I'm never going to tell someone to buy something or not buy something. It's just, yeah, it's just personal preference and choice. It's up to you. I have some of the previous batch. They are solid linears. They are really good. I genuinely like them. So if you're interested in them, maybe pick up some. If you're not, then don't. Simple as that. What are we talking about there? Group buys end tomorrow. EPBT Origami. If you're interested, buy it quick. TGR Tomo. If you're interested, buy it quick. They both end tomorrow. There we go. Shilling done, I promise. Zach says, I was making a joke about him being old and all of a sudden I've been robbed of £3. It's not robbing. Think of it as an investment. If you buy me lunch, I might be very, very open to letting you wander around the workshop for a bit. Call it an investment. Is the lodestone still in the works? Yes, the lodestone's behind my head. Can you see it just up there? Wait. There. There it is. Sorry, my camera's reversed, so I can't tell. There it is. That's the lodestone prototype. Is there a clip of comparison versus Telios or Ganks? I'm sure there will be. There will be on YouTube. There's every sound test you could want on YouTube. Definitely go check it out. You'll find it, I'm sure. Okay. JR4 when? Maybe the end of this year. No firm plans on it yet. I will prototype it at some point, and if the prototype works, then we'll look at making it a real thing. No real plans on it yet, but the board design's pretty much done. There's a couple of tweaks that need doing, but it's pretty much there. So, yeah, maybe later on this year. We'll see. I've got so much other stuff going on. I need a project manager to come and work for me. That's genuinely what I'm considering right now, is hiring a project manager, just like a part-time role, because I'm really struggling. Like, genuinely, that's a thing. And I used to be a program manager for my day job, but to be fair, I did have like quite a lot of project managers working for me at the time. So yeah, I am considering it. It's like a thing. Like, I've got some colleagues that used to work for me, and we still keep in touch. And I might have messaged one today saying, do you want like half a day a week's work to just do some project management? We'll see how it goes. Right, okay, so we've talked a lot about a lot of different things, but now it's time to chill out a bit and take a look at the Keymacs. So I'm just going to flip over the camera so you guys can see. Okay, so I'll move my coffee out of the way because you guys don't want to see that. This is the first Keymax that I got. This one is built with Salmon Alps, and it came pre-built. So when I bought this from Willem at Keymax, it came pre-built. It came just like this. This is how I open it out of the box. Pretty standard design. USB-C centered door to board. There you go. If the camera decides to focus. There we go. This is the board it came. Just listen to this. That's how it came out of the box. I have done nothing to this. That's how it came out of the box. Now, what I want to call out here is that Willem is the designer. He runs Keymax. He's genuinely a nice guy. He's Eastern European. I can't remember exactly where from, but he's genuinely a really nice guy. I've spoken to him a little bit, and I can't believe what he's done with this. So, he hasn't just done the CAD design for this board, but he bought a CNC mill, and he milled this board. Okay, so he actually makes this board to order. When you order one, it's not existence. He gets the blank block of aluminium billet, and he machines it to order, like Salvan would do or anyone else. But just for this one board, he has his own CNC machine. He makes this. He CNCs it. It's a 2-part case plus a plate, and I'll show you how that works later. He designed and made the PCB. He designed and made the daughter board. He solders all of those together. He also makes the keycaps in-house. These keycaps that you see on this board, he makes them in-house. He designed his own way of stabilizing the keycaps. Also, it would work with Alps switches and replicate the original Symbolics boards. So this board and this layout is basically the Symbolics keyboard. That's where it comes from, which was designed to program in the Lisp programming language. Let me show you the Keymax website. Actually, let me show you this because this is super duper interesting. Here we go. This is the Keymax website. So he makes all of this himself. As you can see, he's got a really nice website. It's really well laid out. You can see that he's over-engineered the board. He's done all of the CNC work himself. He's done all of the CAD design himself. It's all down to specification for Alps switches. Not only has he done that, but this configurable section here, he's actually gone and turned QMK into his own kind of web-based VIA. So if you guys have used VIA or VIA, whatever you want to call it, which is like a front end for QMK to program your keyboard, this guy's made his own version of that just for this one board. That's what he's done on his own. He's got his own daughter board design, his own PCB design, his own stabilizers design, and everything else. And that's not the best bit. The best bit for me is the fact that he makes these keycaps here on the right hand side himself. And they're not just keycaps. These are double shot keycaps that he makes in his own molds in his own workshop himself. These are double shot keycaps. And not only that, but wait till I show you guys how thick these keycaps are. Let's take down the Keymax website. You guys can get it from the build command if you want to go and take a look. Hold on. Here we go. Let me show you. This is a double shot keycap that he has made himself. The legends are super duper crisp. The keycaps are super duper nice. They're very nicely textured. This is his own profile that he's developed. It's not SA. This is a completely new profile that he's developed of his own. It's similar to SA, but it's not quite the same as SA. And look how thick these keycaps are. Look how thick they are. And if you look inside, you can see the white bit and the black bit. That's where it's double shot. But look how thick they are. And not only does he do that, but he also makes these own 2U caps and larger, which have their own stabilizers. So this is one of the modify key. This doesn't need a stabilizer, but this is a modify key. No stabilizer. And if you thought the previous cap was thick, take a look at this. Look how thick that cap is. Modifiers aren't double shot, but look how thick that cap is. It's just nuts. There's versions like that that use stabilizers, and this guy has designed it all himself. His own keycap profile, his own keyboard, his own PCBs, his own daughter boards, his own double shot keycaps, his own software. Look at this. This is a stabilized key. Look at that. How nuts is that? Look at it. Look how thick it is. Look how accurate the openings are for the stabilizers. Look how nicely these are textured and finished. And this is someone making it in his own workshop at home. This is someone with a workshop like mine, kitted out a bit better than mine, and he makes it himself. And then people ask me, why is it $2,000? Well, to be quite honest with you, I think it's worth every damn penny when you consider the amount of work it goes in. You think you've seen thick spacebars before? Look at this. First of all, it's nearly 10U, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9U spacebar. So it's nearly 10U. It's a 9U spacebar. Go on, camera, focus. There we go. Which is huge. But look how thick it is. Look how chunky that is. I want to tell you that he's designed his own stabilizers. I mean it. This is a part that he laser cuts, makes himself, and that's his stabilizer housing that he makes himself, with a wire that I don't know if he buys these or if he makes them himself or whatever, but with a wire. And it's just all together a little bit nuts. And this is why I love this board, and this is why I love the guy as well, because it's the kind of project that most people wouldn't do. Those keycaps look like they drank milk. Yeah, man, dude. Like, and you don't just get the keycaps here. Like, look at this. Look at this. This is what you get. Look at how many bags of keycaps you get with the board. That's all the keycaps that come with the board. Bag 1, bag 2, bag 3, bag 4, bag 5, bag 6, bag 7, bag 8, bag 9, bag 10. 10 bags of keycaps. As well as that, you also get all of this stuff. You get a whole raft of screws and bump-ons. You get his custom designed daughter board, an internal cable, and a teensy, which is how we're going to power it. And you get all that before I've even shown you that you can get a case and a plate as well. So there you go. Let's catch up with chat and see what you guys have been talking about, because I'm conscious I've been talking for a while. That's quite a unique sound profile. Yeah, the board sounds lovely. It sounds really nice. I just bought EBPT Origami. I will also join the NeoKeys Element G67 and get some more switches to build my first custom keyboard. Do you have any thoughts on it? I will get nice stabs and stabs and switches. Hey man, that sounds like an okay build. It sounds like a just fine build. If you're happy with it, then you'll be happy with it. It's like, I've never tried a G67, but if you like it, dude, you like it. There's nothing wrong with that. Zach says, I remember when you were talking about this board when you got it the first time. You said you didn't think he was really into modern mechanical boards. Was that true? I don't think he is. I haven't really talked to him about it much, but one of the couple of things we have talked about is how the board's designed and how it could be improved upon to make it a little bit better. And I'll talk about those improvements as I go through it. Like, there's a few things that if you wanted to produce this with me, through Prototypist, which we're not talking about, that's not happening, so that's not something that's happening, but I'm just saying if it was a designer that came to me and wanted to produce this, I'd make some suggestions and some tweaks and changes, and I'll talk about those as we get into the build and we're starting to take a look at the board a bit more. It's wild. Wow, that's nice. Yeah. How much does it weigh fully built? We'll weigh it at the end. We'll weigh it at the end of the stream, dude. We will weigh it at the end. In fact, what we'll do is we'll weigh both boards and see if there's a difference between the two, because this one was pre-built and I'm going to build my own shortly. So we'll weigh them both and we'll see what the difference is. Okay, time to put this to one side. Man, that's a chunk. It's a huge chunk. Okay, so I've shown you the keycaps. I've shown you all of the electronics. Now I'm going to show you the switches. So these are Alps that I personally harvested from some keyboards. These are brown Alps. These are tactile brown Alps. These have been lubed, and I've actually lubed them the way that Willem from Keymax suggested. Where did I put it? So he actually provided 2 lubes. And he sent these because these are his preferred loops. Like, if you buy one of these boards, the salmon one that I've got pre-built, he lubed all the switches for me. All of the switches were lubed to his specification. He sent me 2 loops. One of them did have a sticker on it earlier on, I promise you. Where's the sticker gone? Here we go. So this is the one that I used. The sticker's got stuck on the inside of the bag. Let me try and rescue that out. So I used this sticker loop, which is called Niogel 0KS. This is what I used. It's like a really thick grease almost. I used it very, very sparingly, very, very lightly. But this is what he recommended me to use. I've never tried it before, never heard of it before. But it's called Niogel 0KS. So there we go. Keywalk, good evening, Boo. Thank you very much for being here. I haven't tried this one, which is a similar looking lube. There was no label on this one, so I'm not quite sure what that one is. But I haven't tried that one. So that's how the switches are lubed. He also sent me a bag of switches with it, and these have to be some of the cleanest brown Alps I've ever seen. Like, these make the ones I have look positively filthy. These are so good. So good. Dude, I'm always having fun if I'm showing keyboard stuff. That's what makes me happiest in life. But we're not using those today. I'm going to use those for another build, and whatever's left from these for another build. Heine TKL1, if you can believe it. Okay. So as well as all that, we also get the keyboard. The keyboard comes wrapped up. I have opened this already and taken a look, but I'll show you guys it here. Oops. You're neck deep in artisan catalogs. Nice. Okay. So here we go. This is the inside of the base. We also have the PCB. This is the PCB. Nice standard layout. Some incredibly clean design on the PCB. The traces and everything look really good. You can see where he's used wires and popped through to the other side. It's all very neat, very logical, easy to follow. So if you've got a short, it's dead easy to follow. Cookie Curls, thank you so much for the follow. Thoroughly appreciate that. Same for all of the traces on the top, and he actually uses a really good tip here as well. So if you guys are into PCB design, I've just started picking this up. He actually does all of his horizontal traces on one side of the PCB, and sorry, all of his vertical traces on one side of the PCB, and all of his horizontal ones on the other. Now there is a really interesting design quirk here. This is the top of the PCB, and this is the side where all of the diodes are, which is really interesting. One of the things that I would change about this is I would put the diodes on the base. Wait, I'm pretty sure this is how it is. Hold on. Let me just check that I'm right on this. Oh no, I'm wrong. It is okay. So they are all on the bottom. This is the top of the PCB. That makes more sense. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit worried there when I looked at it. I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, these go in that way. Okay, cool. So all of the diodes are on the bottom. I thought they were on the top. My mistake. Now, one of the things I would do is I would stop using a teensy for this, because it does use a teensy connection here. And I would actually use a full-on microcontroller on the PCB. So I'd use an Atmel or something like that. Probably move it over to ARM chip, something like that, and use an ARM chip on it. But there we go. This is revision A of the PCB. And here is the inside of the case. Not much to comment on here, apart from a few tiny little things. There's a recess here, which is for the... There's like a little pocket here that's milled out. That's for where the daughter board goes for the USB. One of the things that I would do is I would change this for the standard unified daughter board. That would mean that you didn't have to have these screw holes on the back. You can see the screw holes just on the side of the USB. I would change that because and this is why I think that Willem isn't in the hobby, because if he was, he'd know about the unified daughter boards from AIO3 and Heine and all of those kind of people, Wilbur, and you'd be able to just leave a raised part of space here, and there's a full-on design there. It's royalty free and it's dead easy to use, and it's what most boards use today, from everything from the J series to key cults to you name it. Anything that uses a daughter board these days tends to use the same standard. I do that purely from a cost perspective and an ease of replacement perspective, because it's a common part. Everyone will be able to do it. Why do I feel like I'm going to be 1,500 euros lighter at the end of the stream? Maybe you will be. Okay, so that's the rest of it for here. A couple of other things as well is that the design of the case is probably a little bit different to how I would do it. It does have a nice flat section here, and as you can see, it's got this kink into the raised bit. There's probably some over machining needed to create this edge. I think there's simpler ways of doing it and simpler ways of designing the internals. Same as this lip here that's cut in this pocket that has to be cut in here. Same as these parts here and here. I think there's simpler ways that you can do it, especially with the raised off parts in the corners as well. There's definitely simpler ways you can machine the internals of the case, just based on what we do with other keyboards. On the outside, however, there's only one thing I would really change, and that is I would redesign it so we didn't have to have the screw holes so far back into the case. I think if you're going to do screw holes into the case, they don't need to be as far into the case as this. There's ways and means of doing it in alternate places, either on this front edge or locking this front edge in and just screwing it in from the back. There's a few different things that you could do. Likewise, I probably wouldn't use 5 screws along the back. I think it's overkill. It doesn't need 5 screws. I'd probably just use 3 and keep it a little bit simpler. But again, I'm nitpicking, guys. I'm really nitpicking. I'm being totally over the top in terms of what I'm commenting on here. The other thing as well I must say is that as the guy's machining this at home, the actual quality of the machining is spot on. Like, it's unbelievably good, is the quality of machining. The anodization's not perfect. I don't know if he does the anodization in-house or if he gets that done elsewhere. It's not perfect, isn't the anodization, but the actual machining is spot on. Like, there are no mill marks, there's no overhangs that shouldn't be there, there's no issues with any of the chamfers or lines. I would probably add chamfers onto some of these internal lines, but I'd get rid of a lot of it anyway, so I'd probably design it and change it a little bit differently. There is some anodization hook marks just on the inside here. It's really difficult to show you, but that's just how they hang it up in the bath. So what they'll do is they'll put it on hooks and they'll hang it like that, and it'll dip into the bath. That's how it'll be anodized. Usually they'll put hooks on both sides so it can be dropped in like this. But other than that, you can't complain about hook marks. It's a natural part of anodizing. It's going to be there on any part of the board. Externally, finish is pretty good. Some slight patchiness in areas, but I'm nitpicking again, guys. I'm really nitpicking. Okay, let's take a look at the top case. I'll show you guys how this all mounts together as well. Okay, we'll take a look at the plate in a second. Here's the top case. Pretty standard from the outside. It's basically made flat with an angled edge, and this is why there's the flat part on the front of the keyboard. I'd probably tweak this if I was going to design it myself. You can see there's a slight streak in the anodization here, but again, nitpicking. Overall, the machining is incredibly good. The chamfers on these edges are really nicely done. I'd probably follow that through the rest of the board. I'd also probably chamfer these external edges. I can imagine that if you're not too careful, these could get damaged quite easily. They're quite sharp. There's no round over. They're quite sharp there. There's maybe the tiniest of chamfers on them, but I'd do something similar to these internal edges, which is really hard to show you, but I promise there is a chamfer on those internal edges. Looking on the inside, we can see something quite obvious. It's where you screw everything together, and it's basically a sandwich mount board. Captain Ladies Man, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The plate is basically sandwiched between the mount points, and the screws go through the plate. So it's very similar to a lot of traditional boards for Alps. Just standard sandwich mount, nothing special. I think that's perfectly fine for this style of board, and I'd probably keep it that way if it was up to me and I was doing a bit of a redesign. Some of the cool things to call out about the machining is just how he gets into this edge to machine it. This is very cool. It's just really cool. Like, I can't believe how good it is. For someone doing this at home, and this is the only thing they make, it's kind of nuts. Like, I just assume this guy's got some experience in machining. You can see a few things, like there's some patchy anodization here on the inside. Again, nitpicking, it's nothing major. On the outside, it's pretty good. The only thing is that line here that I showed you here. You can see there's like a little darker line of anodization, if we get the angle right. Just there, you can see there's just a stripe down here. That's the only thing I can find that's at fault with this. That and finger marks. In terms of the plate, I had the plate upside down. There we go. That's the correct way around. The plate's pretty solid. Like, it's steel, so there is some flex to it. I would probably not use steel. I'd probably use, I don't know. I'd probably use carbon fiber for something like Alps these days. Again, I'm being nitpicky and obtuse, and I don't need to be this nitpicky. Joel Pioli, thank you. Jolie Pioli, thank you very much for the follow, man. Super, thank you very much for that. Yeah, lots of stab cutouts. All of these are 2U keys, remember, across here, so there's stabilizers for all of them. And I'll show you guys how those work. They look very traditional Alps stabilizers. I'm just going to take this tape off here. So yeah, there we go. I'd probably change this to maybe I'd do anodized aluminium, or I'd do carbon fiber or something else. Like, there's just an inherent flex to it that doesn't take much pressure, and that's just due to the heat. I think when this has been laser cut or milled. This has been laser cut. This has been laser cut, and I think as it's been lasered and it's heated, there's just a slight bit of flex in the material because of it. It's like the top of a can or a jar when it pops. It's got that kind of feel to it. just been a little bit heat stress, I think, as it's been made. The plate should be theoretically reversible as well. You should be able to use it either way up, because it should be identical on both sides, which is another cool feature. It means you can't get it wrong. And I'll probably put this side up just because of the way the flex goes on it. Pork Sausage Thief says, I need to head to bed. Enjoy. I'll be watching this later. Thank you very much for being here, man. I appreciate your time as always. Thank you. Okay. Arcana says, I usually do all of my vertical and horizontal traces on separate sides too. Yeah, it's good practice. It is good practice. TNC is easier to solder than having the MCU pre-soldered. Also easier to replace the TNC if it malfunctioned compared to having to desolder an ARM chip, etc., or indeed desolder and replacing the entire PCB. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just think from a vendor perspective, it's easier to just send out a replacement PCB where the customer doesn't have to solder onto a TNC. Like, I have to guarantee stuff like that. If it's something that can be built by the customer, I have to provide a guarantee with it, which means that if then the customer makes a mistake of soldering the TNC on and they solder it on wrong and short the whole thing out, for example, it's on me to replace it. So I prefer, and this is just me thinking from a vendor perspective, I just prefer to send out a whole unit that they can't mess up. But that's just the way I feel about it. Scott Water, thank you so much for the follow, man. Really appreciate that, my dude. Thank you so much. Okay, so there we go. So that's basically the board. Now comes the fun part, and that's going to be assembling the whole thing, which I'm really, really excited for because I have no idea what I'm doing. There's a load of parts on this that are not standard. There's a load of parts on this that are completely and utterly custom, and I'm just hoping that I can actually get this build done. I'm pretty comfortable with the soldering. That's dead easy. I'm pretty comfortable putting the switches in place. That's dead easy. I'm pretty comfortable putting caps on. That's dead easy. But we need to make sure we're doing everything correctly. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Roro Keyboard says, good day. Very much a big hi to you, and thank you for being here. I'm just going to nip away for 2 minutes, guys, and just blow my nose because my hay fever is so bad today. Like, I feel like I'm going to sneeze constantly. So just give me less than a minute, guys. I'll be back. I apologise profusely for this. Okay, I now have tissue. I now have, well, some blue roll. But I have tissue, so there we go, we're good. Right, okay guys, so time to start putting this together. So what do we know? We know that on the plate we've got stabilizers going to each of these slots, but we know that these are Alps stabilizers. So we know that these take the very, very tiny little parts of the Alps stabilizers, which can be added afterwards. So this is the insert where the wire goes. Oh man, there's so many little parts here. I hope he's got some spares if I lose some of these. Okay. So the stabilizer is basically made up of a few different parts. We have, in the keycap, we have these two holes on either side. Into those holes will go these, and these have a hole into it, which is where the wire goes. So you can think of these like the stem inserts, and you can see that the wire would go in just like so. So you can think of these like stem inserts. The other thing that we have is where the wire clips in onto the plate, and that's these little connectors here. Now these are standard Alps ones. I'm pretty sure that he's had these remade because I haven't seen them in this quality or color before. So yeah, we're gonna do those last. I'm pretty comfortable that we can actually build those last. We don't need to worry about those just now. But I just want to make sure that I'm doing this in the right order and I don't miss anything. So we're going to check everything. We're going to check everything. But those can definitely be done and added to the board afterwards. So we don't need to worry about those for this part of the build. The less I put in the plate now, the better, because then it'll be more accessible to other parts later on as we finish up the build. I shouldn't have tipped all these out. Why did I tip all these out? Guys, why did you let me in chat tip all of these parts out? Let me know what you're thinking so far, guys, as well. Do you think this is a hit or not? Do you think this is a good keyboard design or a bad keyboard design? Do you agree with my comments or do you disagree? What are your thoughts, guys? What are your thoughts? Do you think it'd be better using the unified daughter board, something that's much easier to get hold of and replace, or do you think it's better at having its own proprietary one? How do you guys feel? Let me know. Okay, so I'm comfortable with that packet of caps. That's just caps going afterwards. Comfortable with that. Same here. Some stabilizers in there as well, but we're comfortable with those. We're good with that. Microcontroller. We probably need to look and see when that goes in the build. Just keycaps. Again, comfortable with those. And those, and those, and those, and those. So we're comfortable with all of the keycaps. We don't need to worry about those. Although I have knocked over top caps. There we go. Other things to note here, we have the internal daughter board. I'm pretty confident we can leave that for just now, although we might need some parts out of here. And we're good on that for now. We definitely don't need the cable just yet, so we can put that to one side. So that just leaves the spacebar pack. And what I'm worried about here is missing something that we need to do in terms of the spacebar stabilizer. So when I told you that this guy designed his own stabilizers, what he's designed is these return ports for the actual spacebar. Because the spacebar is so long, it has a switch here, but then it also has a stem, an Alps stem here, and an Alps stem here to basically stabilize the key instead of using the standard stabilizer wire. And you can see that it's got these red Alps inserts. I have no idea where these are from, but these do not look like they are 3D printed. These do not look like they are... In fact, they don't look like they are Alps, actually. They look like they are a Matthias, maybe? A Matthias Silent. Looking at the edge, they've got where the rubber grips might have been for a Matthias Silent. If in doubt, tip them out. Sure, let's go with that. Okay. And it seems as though this is where that's going to go in and out here. Now, as far as I can guess, these are going to be mounted on top of the plate, just like so. Oh wait, are they going to be mounted underneath? Let's take a look on the other Keymacs. This is where I'm glad that I've got a second Keymax to take a look at. So what I'm trying to do here is just take off the spacebar stabilizer. Whoops. If I don't drop my tools. Oh gosh, what am I doing now? Getting all confused. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to try and pop off the spacebar stabilizer here. Or the actual spacebar itself if we can. And just see how it's put together. Okay. Okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. This is what we do. We put the red part on the stabilizer on there. Then he's got some little inserts that go in here. This is where I think these are from Silent ones, like. This is where the inserts go on the sides. And then these bits go on top, so they go inside the keycap when you depress the spacebar. And then the wire runs along the front. Okay, okay, so this all makes sense now. This all makes sense now. So basically, I need to install these in here. So that's job number one. Okay. So if they go in there, we'll have to screw them down. The bolts will have to come off, and we'll put the bolts on the underside. Okay. It's cool that he's even thought down to using washers for this as well. Like, many people wouldn't have thought about using washers on something like this, but that's just a nice little engineering touch. Okay, so that's now going to sit here in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. We're going to hold the screws in place. We're going to put our washers on. And whilst we're putting a little bit of pressure on the screws from the other side, we're just going to wind on the bolts just to start them going. Just until they're finger tight. We're going to do that on both sides. And then what we're going to do is, because we don't want to over tighten this, we're not going to use a spanner or anything. We're just going to hold the nut in place, and we're just going to tighten the screw into the nut. And this is going to only be finger tight. Don't want to damage the parts, just want to hold them in place. So I feel like if we do this now, then we can get to the bolts underneath, and we can make sure that they're all nice and tight and neat and looking good. So we should have another one. We do. Teensy is the only thing that's putting me off, but the effort is still blowing me away. Yeah, I just think that it'd be a little bit of a nicer and neater package if it had like a full-on PCB. And again, this is why I think that maybe Willem isn't quite into the community. Anarchy also says, unified daughterboard is just what the modern community is used to in terms of being suitable for the keyboard. Both methods work. I guess it comes down to, do you want a more DIY-based build or something you just put in and works like most modern boards? I think it's more than that for me. I think it's more about replaceability, repairability. Just in terms of the fact that the modern daughter boards are so easy to get hold of these days, and that most vendors have a stock of them, I think I'd just rather use those. Plus, there's also the fact that this has screws on the outside of the case, which I don't like. That's one of the design features of this board that I dislike. I think it could do with losing those screws on the outside of the case where the USB port sits. But again, you are free to agree or disagree with me. TNC is more commonplace in the vintage community. Yeah, I agree. That's true. That's true. I'm trying to decide what these are made of. These little stabilizer housings. It feels like they're made of POM to me, and it feels like they're actually made up of 2 or 3 different layers of POM that are bonded together. Like, it's really hard to tell, but it feels like there's 2 or 3 different layers that maybe laser cut and then bonded together. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Okay, so now we've got those in place. That's where our spacebar is going to sit. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait. Okay. So I'm glad I checked. It's not reversible plate. Go figure. So we've put these on the wrong side. So we're going to have to undo these and just pop them back in the correct side. No biggie. We've only lost a couple of minutes. It's all fine. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself, but it's okay. It's gravy. We'll be good. At least we understand how it goes together now. I did think it was reversible, but it's not. So there we go. So on the side of the spacebar, you've got the spacebar stabilizer here, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keycaps. Spacebar stabilizer here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how this board is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's now catch back up with ourselves. I feel like this is something that we could redesign to be a little bit easier to do as well. Not needing something to screw in. It'd be nice if these were removable and didn't have to be screwed in. Using a bolt on the underside of the PCB that's going to be between the PCB and the plate. It's going to be really difficult to get to. I think there must be a better way of doing it. In fact, I can think of a couple of ways of doing it. It might be something that I have a chat to Willem about. I also might ask him if the plate file and a spare PCB is available, because that would be good for me to be able to get some parts produced in other materials and see how those sound. Okay, so we're almost back to where we were. There we go. Next thing to do is just to make sure we've got the stabilizer installed correctly on the spacebar. I'm just going to push the little red caps onto these areas here. Should be another way in here. Where's the red cap? There it is. I think these come from Matthias stems. They definitely feel like they come from Matthias anyway. Okay. The wire is going to go on this rear side, so the opposite side to where the slot is, the wire is going to go on this side. So now we need to install... I think he's changed these, and these are now black instead of white. That's cool. We can work with that. I'm literally just copying what I have on the other one. Okay, and then the wire is just going to slip into there and slip into there, and there we go. We've now got the spacebar all wired up, ready to go. We'll lube that up before we actually finish the build. But I think that's all we need from this particular bag. I just wanted to check that because I knew there was some complexity with the screws and the bolts. I noticed that when we took the previous Keymax apart a couple of months ago. Leave the lubes out. We'll use those for the stabilizers shortly. Because we've got a lot of stabilizer lubing to do. Okay, that's all that done now. We know the spacebar is good, so we can pop that away. We'll pop that with the rest of the keycaps. Okay, so now we know the plate's good. We can pop our switches into the plate, and then we can get ready to solder. Marfin7152, thank you very much for the follow. Ice Hollow as well, and Scungy Bungo, thank you so much for the follows as well, guys. I thoroughly appreciate all of you. Thank you. Okay, so now what we're going to do, guys, is just going to pop the switches into the plate. And this is where I pray that I have enough switches for this build. The beauty of Alps as well, though, is that we can tune the switches whilst they're in the board. We can actually open these switches up whilst they're clipped into the board. They don't need to be desoldered to tune the switches later on if we need to. What name was that you heard? I don't know. Did I say a name? I said Scungy Bungo, Ice Hollow, and Marfin. Those are the guys that dropped a follow on the channel. Just thanking those. Okay. And remember, guys, in a few minutes time when we do get to the actual soldering, whatever I'm soldering on this channel, you guys can ask me any question you would like about anything. You can ask me about life, the universe, anything that you'd like to ask me at all. Doesn't matter. It can be keyboard related or otherwise. It can be business related or otherwise. It can be relationship related or otherwise. Whatever you guys want to know whilst I'm soldering, all you need to do is target me with @JPrototypist, and I will answer any questions that you might raise. Or at least I will try to. I'll do my best to. And this is where the money comes into it as well, guys, because these brown Alps are not cheap. Brown Alps, I think the last time I looked, these were going for $5 a switch on the aftermarket. I have no idea if they go for more or less now, but yeah, they were going for $5 per switch, which is kind of insane. A few bent pins on some of these, so we're just going to skip those. That Ice name sounded like one of those old Twitch joke names. No, it's just Ice Hollow 33. I'm not going to fall for it and say it wrong. Kat just says, have you been enjoying life after making the decision about your day job? Yeah, like I've never been happier than where I am now. I thought that I really liked my day job. I genuinely thought I was in love with my day job before I left it. Now I'm not so sure I was. Like I think that was just I didn't know any better, perhaps, and now I feel a little bit differently about it. It's been an interesting change and an interesting dynamic, I've got to be honest with you. I probably feel like grateful for the time that I had with the bank that I worked for, and I did enjoy the job, but maybe I'm just at a time in my life where I needed to do something a little bit different. I needed to quit the corporate day job 9 to 5. I needed to grow a beard, get some plaid shirts, and go and work in a workshop. Right, that's what I had to do, and that's what I've done. And do you know what? I'm genuinely really happy now. I'm genuinely really happy. I have no income, but I'm happy. I have no salary anymore, but I'm happy. Okay, we do have a few bent pins. I'm not going to use those switches unless I have to. Sometimes on old Alps boards, when you had to desolder them, there were some seriously bent pins. Because they used to fold over every 10th pin or something. They used to actually bend it over to hold the PCB and assembly into place, which is really frustrating, but it is what it is, and we'll get around it. And this is where I hope I have enough switches, because I didn't count these. I just assumed there was enough in these 2 bags to cover this board. What did I used to do as my day job? I was a senior program manager for a large financial institution here in the UK. I did it for 16 years, and yeah, I thought I enjoyed it at the time, but maybe I just didn't know any better. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm definitely happier now, though, doing something that I enjoy. Even if I don't get paid for it, even if I don't make any money out of it, I enjoy what I do more now. Catch says excellent. Yeah, I feel good. Apart from doing my back in, I feel good. Okay, so starting to get there now with these switches. A few more bent pins than I'd like. I really dislike it when you get bent pins and Alps. I could straighten these up. I could go get some pliers and straighten them up, I guess, but I haven't. I've been lazy and just assumed there'd be enough good ones to get around that. Almost there though now, putting the switches in. I'm not too far away from being done on this side. Zach says, what did you do at uni? So I didn't go to uni at the same time as all my peers did. I actually did university through work, and I have an MBA from Manchester. Drink in the student union, what all students did. I used to drink in the university, Leeds University Student Union bar when I was in college. So if you guys know Leeds University at all, right where Leeds University steps are, just round the corner from there and over the road, there is a sixth form college called Notre Dame Sixth Form College. That's where I went to study my A-levels. And yeah, I used to spend more time in the University Student Union than I did in college, I think. Also, there was a couple of pubs there as well, the Eldon and the Pack Horse, and I spent so many hours in both of those. And the Bricklayers Arms was around the back as well. Those 3 pubs in the Student Union. And then as you come down into Leeds, there's a bar called Dry Dock, Strawberry Fields. Yeah, those were my Friday night haunts. That's where I spent most of my Friday nights. You could basically walk between them, and if I wasn't in one, by the time you got to the end of the chain, you'd have found me somewhere. Did you back in the most manly way possible, though? Yeah, trying to lift something that was too heavy for me to lift, right? That's not the most manly way possible. That's the stupidest way possible. Artayax, Gene, and Maxed Feelings, thank you so much for the follow, guys. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, I tried to do something that I was not in the physical shape to do. For those that you don't know, if you haven't watched my Insta stories, I slipped a disc in my back, in my thoracic spine, which is where my ribs meet my spine, by lifting a new shower tray. So I'm trying to renovate the bathroom at home, the ensuite, one of the 5 bathrooms that we have, and we've got a new shower tray, which is basically the bit you stand on in the bottom of the shower, and it's 2 meters long by just over 1 meter wide, and it's about 6 inches thick, and it's made of stone, and it weighs about 150 kilograms, and the delivery driver left it on the step outside, and I had to get it into the house. So I kind of half lifted, half shuffled it across the threshold, which was like, it's like that high off the floor, and that's what did my back in. I couldn't lift it. I couldn't physically lift it. It was too heavy, but just trying to do it and trying to move it, that's what injured my back. I'm not sure I'd say that was the most manly way of doing it, though. Kiwok. Student union at Hull was kind of wank. Never had that experience. Drank at the pub instead. Yeah, I've never been to the student union in Hull. I don't really go to Hull much if I can avoid it. I've been there twice in the last 10 years, I think. Both times to go to the deep. Okay, so we've got switches in there. We have switches in. Excellent. What do you think happens to us after death? Honestly, I'm going to be a bit of a pessimist after this. I think once you die, that's it. I don't think there's any afterlife. I think it's just an endless void of nothingness. What was there before you were born? I think it's the same after death. I don't think there's an afterlife personally. I don't believe in anything like heaven or hell. I think it's just a case of you've got your time and that's it. Of course, other people are entitled to their own beliefs and opinions. That's entirely up to you. I don't judge people based on what they think, and I hope people don't judge me for what I think. Yeah. What does a commissions entail? I remember you said something about lasers. So yeah, so if you want to order a commission board, we can do you a commission JO1 or a JO2. That's open. You can just email me and we'll get you sorted out with a quote and everything else. In terms of the lasering, all I do on the laser is if you ask for it and it's something that you want, I will laser engrave a message on the inside of the board. Simple as that. There's some examples on my Instagram of ones I've done for other commissions and other orders. So there we go. Right, okay, so now we've got all of the switches in place. The next job is to get it all lined up. Wait, no, I was right. Yeah, I was right. There we go. Okay. So now, this is where I'm a little bit worried that we may have some bent pins that might not quite fit. I'm just going to check and make sure everything's lining up on the pin side. Because there may be a couple that are just slightly out, and with Alps they have to be pretty much perfect, otherwise they ain't gonna go in. Okay, I think we're just about there. Let's try and lay this one in. Let's try and line it up here. Work our way along the back row. That's all looking good. So we're going to start to move forwards now. See if there's any areas where it doesn't want to quite go. That's all feeling pretty good. Feels like something's getting jammed around here. Okay, so this is just going to be a case of troubleshooting until we find the culprit. I think I found it. Just going to push that switch out. Okay, so that all now goes in, so that's good. What I want to do before we actually solder is just check where we're going to put the teensy. And just see how all that aligns up. Because there's going to be some pins, and I assume they're going to be in here. So that's the daughter board that we have to fit. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty nice design. Pop that to one side. Okay, we do indeed have to put the ports in for the teensy. I'm just going to see how that all goes together. Okay, so these are going to just drop in to there and there. So we're going to take the PCB off and we're going to solder these in first. And then what I need to work out is which way around the teensy goes. Just wondering if he's got a picture on the side that actually shows that. Okay, he does, and what I'm quickly learning is that I'm going to need to use the standoffs as well. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we need to use these standoffs first. So what we're going to do is going to solder these onto the PCB first. That's going to be the first job, and then we'll be able to move forwards with the rest. Okay. Okay, so now we know that the PCB slips over the switches nicely. We can then put the last few switches in once we've got everything else ready. But what we're going to do first of all is we're going to solder these into the PCB. So what we're going to do is going to pop them in place. We're going to flip them over. We're going to solder one pin first. In fact, we'll take one out. We're going to solder one pin first. And then once we've soldered one pin, we'll do a bit of an alignment check. And then once we've done that, we'll do the other strip. So guys, now's the time to get your questions in. Now I've started soldering, it's officially, I'll answer any question that you ask, no matter what it is, as long as it's not going to get me into trouble with Twitch. I will answer any question that you guys ask. Strawberry Fields forever. Yeah, Strawberry Fields was, I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been on that road for a long time, a number of years now. But last time I was there, it was still there. So I wonder if it still is there. Okay, so now we've put one in. I'm just going to make sure it's all nice and neatly aligned before we solder it in any further. Just going to heat that pad up whilst I align it. That's looking good. So now I'm going to go through all of the rest of the pins and just solder these one by one. Just going to check that that's all held on securely. That's looking good. Now it's time to do the second one. So I'm just going to push it in, and then we're just going to pin that down in place. Hold on, let me put the soldering iron down for a second. I need both hands for this. Help if I didn't drop it. Again, I'm just going to solder one pin, and then we'll align it all once we've got one pin holding it in place. Basically, that one pin is going to act like a pair of helping hands, and it's just going to allow me to get everything aligned correctly. It's looking quite good. And then again, I'm just going to go pin at a time. Just make sure we've got a good connection, and then move on to the next. There we go. And that is those two parts soldered in nice and neatly. There we go. Okay. Lifting big rock, 150 kilograms. Jeez, yeah, it's like super duper heavy. It's ridiculous. Akina says, I like to think you get reincarnated. That'd be really nice. I genuinely think that would be really nice. How are babies made? Magic. A stork brings them, right? The stork flies along, and then if people are in love and they want a baby, the stork will drop them off. They just sometimes get lucky and sometimes they don't. Simple as that, right? Inspired by the question earlier on, what does esoteric mean to you personally? I always think of the word esoteric as in relation to a person, so I think that's the first thing. And it usually means something a little bit unusual, a little bit strange, a little bit out of the ordinary, something that's not quite the standard way of doing things, or someone who does things their own way a lot of the time. I think that's what it means to me. How much is a typical JR1 commission? It really depends. Like, they vary from $800 to $4,000. It really depends on what people want. I have no idea until I know what you want. Advice for motivating yourself to work? Okay, we talked about this the other day on stream, actually. I think there's two things. People take focus to mean motivation, and it doesn't. Hey, guys from Keycult, thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you. 187, wow. Guys over at Keycult, I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the raid. Guys that have just joined us with Keycult from Love, thank you guys, thank you. If you guys have just joined us, we're building an Alps board. We're building a Keymax. This is a $2,000 Alps board, and today we're using brown Alps. We were just about to talk about what is motivation for me and how do I motivate myself, but this has kind of taken me by a bit of a back step. Thank you to everyone who's following. I can't keep up with all the names, but thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the follows. And thank you again to Keycult. Thank you, guys. I'm not sure who was streaming. Was it Zach or was it both of you? I don't know. Whoever it was. Thank you very much, guys. From Keycult with love. Oh, guys, thank you so much. Thank you. So back to Zach's question, in terms of motivation, people often mistake focus and being able to focus on a task as being motivated. I don't think that's motivation at all. I think that focus and motivation are two very separate things. Being able to dedicate yourself to over a set period of time to a single task is not motivation. So don't take the same things twice. Don't mistake this motivation for being focused, because that's what focus is. Focus is being able to look at a certain task and concentrate on that one thing solely. Motivation is something else. Motivation is the desire to get out of bed on a morning and do something with yourself to make something better, or to build something, or to design something, or whatever it is. Motivation is a driving force that makes you want to complete some sort of project in your life. How do I keep myself motivated? I pick the projects that I want to work on. So this isn't something that everyone can do. I was very fortunate to be lucky enough to not have to need a day job and to be able to devote myself entirely to building and designing keyboards without need of an income. And I don't take any income. I have zero income. As I said before, I'm technically unemployed. I'm a volunteer managing director for Prototypes Keyboards, but I don't actually have any income. I don't take a salary. I don't take a dividend. I don't take any income at all. And I was lucky enough to be in that position. But what drives me to get out of bed in the morning is the fact that I want to be able to develop cool things that I love and share them with the community. And that's what I do. Keycult says your heart knows. That sounds like a George thing to say. I hope you're doing well, man. I hope you're doing well. We haven't spoken in ages, guys. Keycult, hey. We need to catch up. Like, I actually want to order a commission from you guys as well, because I've been struggling to get hold of a number 265. And it's kind of like a frustration of mine. So I'm hoping we can do like a prototypist type by Keycult type board. Maybe I'll email you this week about that. But yeah, thank you very much for being here, guys. I thoroughly appreciate it. So I think there's a very big difference between motivation and focus, and I think it's really difficult to get your head around that. But motivation differs from person to person, and what motivates one person might not motivate another. One of the most common things when I worked in the corporate world, I was pretty senior. And one of the most common things that people would shy away from saying motivated them to work hard was money. They would always say, oh, it's the thrill of doing a great job, or to try and deliver great things, or they'll come up with all of this bullcrap. And really what they were there for was motivating themselves, was money. And if that's what motivates you, don't be afraid of saying that. Be happy to say that. At least you're being honest with yourself, and a lot of people aren't. If it truly is designing something and making something, be honest with yourself about that as well, and share that with whoever you're working with or for, or whoever you're providing a service to. You need to share what your motivation is. The more you share your motivation, the easier it becomes to be motivated as well. But please don't mistake motivation for focus, because those two are very different things. Focus is focusing on a specific task and concentrating. Motivation is actually wanting to make something happen. Just try and separate the two in your mind a little bit. Okay, right, so now we've soldered on the two connectors for here. And as I say, we are in soldering mode, which means it's now open season on chat. If you guys have any question you'd like to ask me, anything at all, as long as I can answer it Twitch safely, I will do. Can be keyboard related, can be life related, can be otherwise. But yeah, let's go for it. So I've now soldered on the connector. Now we can put the PCB back onto the switches. We know it all fits now. Just going to pop that down nicely. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go around and solder each of the switches in place. And once that's done, we're then going to come back and we're going to put the missing switches in, the ones that had bent pins. And once we've done that, we'll then take it a step further and start to solder in the teensy. So as I say, guys, don't be afraid. Ask me any question you would like. Whatever question you want answered about anything at all, I'll be more than happy to answer for you. So what I'm going to do first, just before I actually fully solder the board, is I'm just going to go around and I'm just going to solder one pin in each corner and 2 pins near the center. And I'm just going to hold the PCB down in place whilst I do that. And that's just going to make sure that everything is nice and level and even. The last thing we want is the PCB to start bowing upwards or becoming loose away from the switches. So we're just going to make sure everything is as centered as it can be before we go switch by switch. Okay, there we go. Have you seen the Artsy keyboard? It's a coding system which allows you to type fully on a 4x2 board. I haven't seen that, no, but if you want to share that with me, I would love to take a look. Keymax build, nice, yeah. Keymax boards are unbelievably good, considering that the guy makes it in his own workshop. He makes his own double shot keycaps. If you guys haven't seen this, the whole keycap selection for Keymax, this guy makes them in his own workshop. He CNCs the boards, he designs the PCBs, he does all of his CAD design. He also makes his own keycaps in-house. Here's an example. These keycaps are made in his own workshop. These are double shot keycaps. His own sculpted profile. These aren't SA profile, they're slightly different. His own SA profile, his own profile of keycaps. And this is a double shot keycap. This isn't a print, this isn't like a pad print or anything else. This is a double shot keycap. There you go, you can see, look how thick these are. Fully double shot, you can see the white insert there. And these are made by a community member in his own garage, in his own workshop at home. He mills all of the boards himself. He takes care of the anodization. He does all of the CAD design. He does all of the plate design. He does all of the PCB design, all himself. Thanks, Arcana, for the link. I'll take a look after we finish the stream. Would you mind zooming in to view your soldering technique? Looking to learn? Yeah, sure. I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. I'll try and keep it on screen as I'm soldering. And I'll try and talk you through it as well. First thing is make sure your soldering iron is up to temperature. Hold the pad and the pin of the soldering iron, and then after a second or so, just push in, and away you go. Push in with the solder. Wait until you see it all melt nice and neatly and make a teardrop shape. Give it a second, and then remove. And then you build up a rhythm. Thank you again so much for everyone who followed, guys. Like, that's a huge number of followers. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Is it too late to make a Keymax retro trip? I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah, so you're going to hold the soldering iron against the pin and the pad at the same time. You're going to push some solder in after a second or so, so you won't let it warm up. And then once you've pushed enough solder in, you see it make a teardrop shape. You're going to hold it for another second, and then you're going to remove it. You don't want to hold the soldering iron in for more than 3 to 5 seconds. After that point, you probably need to step away for a second, let it cool down, and then come back in. Keep plenty of length on your solder, so you're not putting your fingers too close. Be aware that solder splatter is a thing. It may get you, it may not. If something looks like it's not soldered correctly, just go back and resolder. So one of the beauties is, if I've just done this one and it doesn't look right, I can leave it to cool down and I can just go back in with the soldering iron and I can reflow the solder. It's always a good, easy way to fix a key that sometimes doesn't work. But once you get going, you can start to build up a bit of a repeatable pattern with it. Do you press the solder wire against the pin hole, or the iron? I kind of like wedge it into the 3. So if the soldering iron is pressed up against the pin and the pad, and then I push the wire into the part where all 3 are touching, I can't really zoom in anymore to show you, but I kind of zoom into that, point into that triangle shape that the pin and the soldering iron are making together, and push the solder into that gap. So you can feel a bit of force before it starts to melt. You need like a bit of force to push it in. Sometimes it actually makes a little squeaking noise, and that's usually a sign that you're on the right path. Now the next one's kind of tricky because I have to get in between these two, so I'm going to leave that until the end, and I'm going to come back and do that one at the end. So just remind me guys that I need to do that if I forget. Yeah, we're just going to go backwards and forwards, and as I say guys, now is the time where you can ask me any question you would like. It can be keyboard related or otherwise. And as long as I can legally give you a straight and honest answer, I will do. As long as it's not going to get me banned from Twitch asking the question or answering it, then hey, I will answer any question you like. All you need to do is tag me with @jprototypist and ask any question you like. It can be about life, love, the universe, anything at all that you'd like. Keyboards. Is that a TS100 soldering iron? It is indeed. I've had this for about 5 years now, and it's by far the nicest soldering iron to use that I've ever had. Every other one seems to be a little bit too clunky and a little bit too big and too heavy, or takes forever to heat up. This is a good middle ground. Like it's a really solid one. And the beauty of this as well is that you can actually customize the firmware as well, so you can get custom firmware on it, which enables you to do some cool things. And we're just going to make our way across the whole board and just keep going backwards and forwards. Notice that I'm heating up one side of the switch as well with the pin. I'm heating up on the right hand side, and I'm pushing the solder in from the left hand side. Just means that you're not crossing over your hands or anything else like that, and it just allows you to have that tiny bit more control. And you're just pushing the solder in until you just see that nice little teardrop shape start. If you're pushing too much, then you can use some solder wick to remove it. If you're pushing too little, then you can just go back and reheat and push in some more. Keep your tip relatively clean. And as long as you're using a PCB that's got relatively large pads and pins, you shouldn't need to use flux. Using a good leaded solder like Kester also helps really well. Just the Kester solder, which is what I'm using right now, is quite honestly one of the easiest solders to use. A lot of people say try and use leaded, and I think I agree with that, but don't be afraid if you can only get hold of unleaded. I know it's difficult to get hold of a leaded solder in Europe. As long as you practice, it's not difficult to do, and it's not really much different. Once you've got the technique down, the technique's just there. It's like driving a car. Once you can drive one car, you can drive anything. Just takes a little bit of time to get used to the new car. Okay, where is Keymacs based? They're based in Eastern Europe. I'm not actually sure which country they're in, but they're based in Eastern Europe. I think it might be Romania, but I don't want to quote that and be wrong. It might tell you on the site. But yeah, the shipping from them to me was about 2 days each time, because I own 2 of these boards. DHL Express, pretty quick. Do you use leaded solder or do you follow the rules? I use leaded solder. This is leaded solder. To be honest, in building a keyboard, you use so little solder that the actual amount of lead in it is not going to be harmful or toxic to you, even if you breathed in all of the fumes, because you're not getting to a temperature that's high enough to actually melt the lead itself and cause the lead to turn into gaseous state. So you're going to be fine anyway. That being said, flux fumes are not the nicest to inhale, so don't just go inhaling it just because it's technically safe. There is other toxins in there. But yeah, leaded solder is a little bit easier to work with. Now I buy the kilogram, and I buy it from a special site through Prototypist. So I think they're still allowed to sell leaded solder for commercial enterprises. But if you can't get hold of it, then you can just use normal unleaded solder, and it's just as easy to work with these days. Like, there's some really good solders out there these days. Thank you so much to Will for the subscription with Prime. Thank you so much for that. I thoroughly appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate that more than I can tell you. Thank you so much, man. When I said I had no income, I meant it. Twitch is the only income I have officially. So thank you very much for that. It means more to me than I can tell you. Would adjusting the firmware enable you to do on the soldering iron? If you adjust the firmware, you can do things like control the temperatures, have set temperature profiles. You can have it so the temperature flips depending. It's got like an accelerometer inside, so it knows how you're holding the soldering iron. So you can have it put to sleep if you put it down for a certain amount of time, and other things like that. You could change the color of the screen sometimes depending on which model you've got. There's a few other things as well there, but you can actually tweak and control the temperature. So if you get a thermometer on the end of it, you can actually calibrate it a little bit better as well, which you can't do with the stock firmware, I believe. So there's just a few things that you can do. Okay, there's a couple of switches missing, so I'm just going to skip where they are for now, and we'll come back to those later on. And that's just because some old Alps switches that we've rescued and liberated from vintage boards just have some bent pins, so we just need to straighten those up before we push them into the PCB. How do I desolder? I have a desoldering gun and I heat it up and then suck the solder off. They are quite expensive, but you can look at other options instead of like a full-on desoldering gun. You can use like solder wick and things like that, or you can use like little press pumps. The Engineer SSO2 is actually pretty good for that. So you'd heat it up with a soldering iron, you'd have a little press pump, and that would suck the solder off once you'd melted it. Inquisitive Mind says Prague. Is that where Willem's based, in Keymacs? I don't think they're based in Prague. I'm pretty sure it's not Prague. Oh, it is Prague. It is Prague. You are right. Yeah, it says on the bottom of the website. Yeah. Czech Republic, yeah. I thought they were in Romania. I don't know why. But yeah, you are 100% correct. It is in the Czech Republic. It's Prague. Are you using 6040 solder? Yes, this is 6040 solder. Yes, it's 6040 solder. Is there a particular version of Kest solder that you recommend? I find it quite hard when looking online to tell the difference between all the different kinds. So the one I use is 6040, and it's 0.7 millimeters thick, so it's 0.7 millimeters in diameter, and it's Roisin cord, which just means it's got flux inside the core of the solder itself. So when they manufacture it, it has flux inside, which just helps it guide it to the correct place that it's supposed to be, which is the pads in this case. And it also means for through-hole stuff like this that you don't actually need to use flux directly. So normally you put flux on a PCB before you soldered it. With something like this type of solder and through-hole soldering components like switches, you really don't need to. Like, it'll just work. Okay. Thanks for your great contact. No, thank you, Will. Thank you, man. Thank you. I just assumed that all soldering iron did was get hot. No. Can you buy a Keycult keyboard in Europe? Yeah, of course. I've bought from Keycult a number of times. I've got 2 Keycults in the workshop. Like, yeah, I've bought from them before. That's not a problem. Why wasn't I watching you on Twitch earlier on? I've been enjoying your IG content so much. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Yeah, like I do a lot of Insta stories. If you guys are interested, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just JPrototypist, same as it is on Twitch. But yeah, I do a lot of Insta stories. I do a lot of work in the workshop. I try and keep people updated, just because of the sheer volume of group buys that I run. I find that it's a really good way of showing people where I'm up to, what I'm doing, that I'm actually not wasting my time doing other things. It just gives people confidence in my ability to deliver on a group buy thing. Plus, it's quite interesting because we actually do a lot of stuff. Like, we make a lot of stuff here in the workshop, and we get through a lot of stuff, and yeah, designing and producing things. There's always something going on. Every day's different, and I think that's what I like about being technically retired and doing this now. Yeah, I don't make a living, but hey, I make good things, and I enjoy myself on a day-to-day basis. So that's the cool part. Finally done and left a present in your DMs. Thank you, Keywalk. I appreciate that. Keywalk has been helping me out with some artisan stuff. He's a legend. Thank you so much for that, dude. I appreciate it. Okay. So making good progress now, guys. I've noticed a complete and utter lack of questions. You can ask me anything. I mean, guys, hell, you could even ask me when I got married, or where I went to school, or what I did for a day job, or what cars I own, or anything. Like, it's completely open. Whenever I'm soldering, you guys can ask any question, keyboard related content or not. Anything at all you like. Okay, almost there, guys. Almost there. Not too much further to go. And then I'm really excited to show you guys this, because this is brown Alps on a keyboard. Brown Alps on a keyboard that was handmade in a guy's home workshop, where he made his own keycaps, he made his own stabilizers, he made his own keyboard PCB and daughterboard that are completely different to anything else we use in the market today. It's just kind of all a little bit crazy town, and I'm thoroughly excited to finish this one off. You own multiple cars? Yeah, I think I have 9 right now. 9 cars. What watch am I wearing? This is an About Vintage 1971. The company's called About Vintage. This is the 1971 model. It's a Swiss automatic watch. I wear it every day. It's my daily wear watch, as you can see. It gets a little bit of abuse, but I love it. Fully automatic, full date window. Yeah, 1971 by About Vintage. That's what the name of the company is. Okay, this is the last row, and then once we put these few switches in here, we just need to go back and put in the missing switches, and we'll solder those in as well, and then we're done with the soldering. So I'll just finish off this row. I'll catch up and see if you guys have asked any more questions in chat, and then once we've done that, we'll put in the missing switches, and then we'll be ready to install the teensy, because this doesn't use a system on a chip. It doesn't use an STM32 or an Atmel or anything else. This uses a teensy, which is pretty cool, and is a completely fine way of doing this kind of stuff. These pins are so close to the edge of the board that it's difficult to get a good connection on them. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get these missing switches in. Looks lovely. Thank you, thank you. What makes today's board $2,000? So first of all, we are using Brown Alps switches. These switches are $5 a piece on the aftermarket right now. So that's that kind of gives you an idea of how many switches we're using. $5 a piece on the aftermarket. We've got 3 more to put in the board. We're going to do those now. As well as that, the guy makes this all in his own workshop. So this is a fully built version of the board. Okay, so let me show you this, guys. This is a fully built. Let me zoom out properly. Let me zoom out fully. There we go. So this is a fully built version of the board. He CNCs this in his home workshop. He CNCs the case. It's a 2-part case. He laser cuts the plates, which are made of steel. He laser cuts these parts, which are made of POM. He bolts it all together. He designed the PCBs. He designed the daughterboard. It's all completely proprietary. There's nothing that he reuses from the keyboard hobby. He's not really in the keyboard hobby. He doesn't know about Keycults or J-Series or anything else. He doesn't know about all of the boards that run, the Neuron or whatever else people are buying. So he does it all himself. And all of these keycaps he makes in-house himself. So these keycaps he makes himself. They are produced in his own workshop. They are double shot, and he makes them himself. So the boards retail for about €1,400. Alps are about these Alps are about $5 a piece on the aftermarket. You can kind of do the math, and you can see where it's roughly based. But take a look at these keycaps, guys. This is a fully double shot keycap with his own sculpt. This isn't SA. This isn't Cherry. This isn't any other profile. These are completely a brand new sculpt of keycap. His own design. It's not MT3 or anything like that. This is his own design. It's double shot. You can see inside the white part is the double shot part. Look how thick these keycaps are. Look how thick they are. And he makes this himself. He makes this himself. So that's what makes it $2,000. Expensive switches, expensive keyboard that the guy makes himself, which means his costs are quite high. He doesn't have a full-on setup like Keycult or Salvan do. He just makes this in his own workshop. He makes all of the switches, well, not the switches, but he makes all of the keycaps himself. He makes all of the parts that are necessary for the build and design, and he does it all himself without any prior knowledge of the keyboard community. So without knowing about what TGR are doing or what Keycult are doing or what anyone else is doing, he does it completely separately. Chunky Boy, yes. No QMK for this keyboard. Okay, so here's the thing. Let me bring up the website because I'm going to show you something here. So this doesn't have QMK as you know it, but what it does have is a keymap editor. Now this is what he's built and designed himself and programmed himself, and it's based on QMK, but this is effectively VIA that he's done himself, completely without any knowledge of VIA existing, or VIAL or VIA, whatever you want to call it. Without any knowledge of that existing, he has developed his own solution for how to program this board into QMK. And this is a visual interpretation live on the website. You plug the board in and you make it yourself on the website. You literally click what you want each key to do, and you can change it live here on the site, just 100% live. You can change what it does. And not only that, but he's actually fully replicated the whole Lisp programming of the Symbolics board through a series of key maps. There isn't just one key map, and this isn't going to show up, but on this little drop down here, I can't show you this on stream, but on this little drop down here, there is loads of different ones. You'll see that I can just flick through all of these different Symbolics versions of the layout. He's done this all himself. Some of it's got different layers, some of it's got single layers. There's different layers for Mac. There's all sorts of different things on here. Look at this. Look at this. This one's got 4 or 5 layers, 6 layers, 7 layers, 8 layers, 9 layers. This key map has got 9 layers. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. He's got loads of these. If you guys go on the site, you can click on these, but there's like 20 different key maps that he's created. And you can just flick through them, and you can just apply them just like that. Like, you can just apply it just like this. And you've got all the controls across the top. That's it. You can program the board. So he's got more functionality than VIA does, or VIAL even, in a web browser. It's just absolutely nuts and bonkers that he's managed to do this all on his own. It's just bizarre. I'm thoroughly blown away by what Willem has managed to do with this. It's nuts. Like, I don't have the words to share why I think this is worth $1,500. All I can do is tell you the facts, and you can make up your own decisions. But it's absolutely obscene what he's done. He's done what, 10 different people in the community took to do together. It's just crazy. His own daughterboards, his own PCBs, his own software, his own fork of QMK. Oh, we've got the switch in there, in the 2 switches in here that we need to just go back and do. These are quite tight, so we're just going to be quite careful as we go in. Just going to take our time on these ones, just because we don't want to make sure we're being quite careful. This is a tough one to hit here. I'm just going to try and lengthen. There we go. There we go. That should be all soldered now. Let me just check I've not missed any of the switches. No, we look good. We look good. That looks good from a soldering perspective. So I'm going to take that as a win. So yeah, that's no QMK, but there's everything else. In fact, look, I've got the screen of stuff. I'm sure it's showing Keymax, not showing where it's soldering. There we go. Big Dollar says, what change would you like to see happen in the hobby over the next 5 years? I'd like to see it become more accessible for people to make stuff and do this kind of project. That's what I'd like to see. One of the big things I like to do with prototypists is take the profits and have designers reach out to me and I help them prototype stuff. No group buy details needed. These are one-offs just designed for the designer. They can't afford to fund it themselves. I can use the profits from prototypists to help them make a one-off board of their design that they want. Now, I can't do it for everybody because I don't have the money to do that. But the projects that I like, the projects that I see have got a lot of passion behind, the projects I have time to nurse and take care of, those people I can give the opportunity to make and design their own boards. And I'd like to see that become more accessible to the hobby. Galax, the one says, I am new in the custom keyboard game. Do you have any advice for me? Take it slow. Read a lot of content. Don't rush into purchases. Those would be the 3 bits of advice I'd give you. What's my main keyboard? The main keyboard on my desk here, this is a Geonworks F1-8X. I use this pretty much exclusively at this desk. At my other desk in the workshop, which you'll see if you watch my Insta stories, I use my FLX Virgo, which is designed by Flex, and it's an amazing board. And then at home, I use a board of my own design commission, which is the JO1. So I use that pretty much exclusively at home. I do filter between other boards depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll use a 60% on here if I'm doing certain things. Other times I'll use a different board, like the Petrichor, for example, which has a numpad on if I'm doing Excel stuff. But pretty much exclusively the F1 8X stays on the desk, and the Virgo stays on the desk in the workshop. There are other boards that get used. The Keymacs get used a lot as well. Like sometimes I just want something with the Alps thunk on and I'll just swap it out for an afternoon. But those are the boards that tend to be mainly in rotation. An Alps build in 2021? I'm in a dream. No. How did he get into this without being in the hobby? Sounds like a great Top Clack guest someday. His English isn't great. Like, he can type English, but from what he said, he's not great at speaking English. So I have asked him to be on Top Clack, but he hasn't agreed as yet. I would love to get him on there. Maybe soon. What do you think about the state of manufacturing, that everyone just goes to one manufacturer? They don't. Multiple manufacturers are in use. A lot of companies do go to, and producers do go to one factory, but there's that factory. There's also Salvan, there's also Keycool, there's also Geonworks that are all making their own things. There are other factories and other vendors that go to different factories. Like, it's a bit of a fallacy that everyone uses the same manufacturer. Lots of people do use that manufacturer, but lots of people don't as well. Like, there's so much going on in the hobby these days. If everyone used that one manufacturer, they would fall over with the demand. They just wouldn't be able to cope with it. It's just too much. This maker needs to be protected for real? Yeah, I agree. Does it support combos? I believe so, yes. Has no one tried to integrate this guy into the hobby, or would he prefer to be doing his own thing? I've had some chats with him. I've talked to him about the unified daughter board rather than the solution he's come up with, because there are some limitations with what he has here, certainly in terms of repairability, and it also means some screws on the outside of the case, which I'm not particularly fond of. But yeah, he's just in his own thing and doing his own thing. It's great for him. The browser's still up. Yeah, I got rid of it. Yeah. Did you lube the Alps with nectar? Octavius, yes, I did. I used the nectar that you sent me. Here it is. This is what we used. Yeah, I would love to have Willem on Top Clack one day. I genuinely would, because I think he's such a great guy. And what he's accomplished with this board is nigh on crazy levels of detail. It's so good. It's so good. When he said he was going to build his own keyboard, he meant build everything from the ground up. Biggest hole might be whatever. If you read the website, his story is pretty much that. Yeah, he wanted to build a keyboard, so he bought all of the tooling to build it himself. He bought a CNC machine, he bought a laser cutter, he bought all of the materials, he bought the software. He like I assume he uses Fusion or Rhino or something 3D Ken related. He designed the whole thing from front to back. He replicated a load of his favorite features from historic boards. He created all of the different key maps. He learned about QMK and created his own front end. The guy did exactly that. It's like the guy. It's like you know, Enzo Ferrari when he wanted to set up his own sports car company. He just went and did it, right? It did the whole thing, kit and caboodle, same thing. What made you choose the F1ATX? I bought one to test it out after seeing Black Simon rave about it, and I don't often agree with Black Simon's takes on things. Like, I think he's a great guy and he's a great streamer and I like his content. Sometimes I disagree on where he falls on things, but when he raved about the F1ATX, I thought I need to check that out, and it's one of the few things I 100% agree with him on. Like, the board, for the value for money, it's amazing. Like, it's just unbelievable value for money is the F1ATX. So yeah, at retail price. How do commissions work in the mechanical keyboard industry? It depends. It depends on the designer. It depends on the vendor. For me, for prototypist, it means that you approach me. You want to commission a board. You tell me what you want. I will, or one of my associates will get you a price for it. You decide whether you're going to go ahead or not, and then we make the board to your specification. Simple as that. There's certain things we'll say we can't do or that we're not going to do if I have certain special editions planned or otherwise. But that's pretty much it. You can have anything you like within reason. It's nice and simple. Okay, so now we've soldered the whole board together. It's time to work out what we're doing with the teensy. So I'm just going to go back into his keyboard assembly guide and just check how we need to apply the teensy. We do need to trim the... so because of the design of the case, when we put it into the case, this is the front, this is the rear, it has to be on an angle like that. We do need to trim the pins all down here. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm just going to cut these kind of flush. So just using flush cutters, we're just nipping the ends off. Just keeping them nice and flush, just making sure we've got the board nice and low. Wait, I'm doing the wrong side. That's the top of the board. Oh, well, we'll finish this row off. I'm doing the top of the board here. It's the wrong side. I need to do the front of the board. Oh well, we've trimmed them all now anyway. They're all matching. Let's do the actual side we should have done. There we go. It's me getting excited and not concentrating enough. Okay, almost there. There we go. Get all of these bits out of the way. And there we go, that's all now nice and neatly clipped. Capty's here, says, hi Jay, how you doing? I'm good, man, I'm good. Keymacs says, when you say within reason for the commissions, is a hug on the table. For you, man, anything is reasonable, that's fine. I would love to see a Crysan vid on this board, see what he thinks about it all. Dude, I will happily send him one. I have two, I will happily send him one. I'll reach out to him and message him. We've spoken before. I'll send him a message and see if he's interested in trying it out. Preference of hot swap versus soldered PCBs. Personally, I prefer soldered. I don't like hot swap. It feels loose and I never quite trust it, so I tend to solder boards when I can. That's my personal preference. I don't judge people for wanting to do something different. That's fine. It's just not my preference. Okay, so now we've trimmed those. The next thing we need to do is install the keycaps and the everything else, and then install the controller. So the next thing we need to do, all these little holes, these all need stabilizers going in them. So Alp stabilizers are a little bit different to normal. And there's going to be a few of them in different packages. So let's try and get all of the Alp stabilizers out. So look at these. These are 2U keycaps. Look how thick these are. These are homemade. Look how thick they are. This is a Keymac sculpted keycap, which is low-key kind of nuts. Okay, before I put any of these on, I'm just going to put them all to one side, and we're just going to basically concentrate on putting the inserts for the stabilizers into the plate first of all. Then once all of those are done, we'll concentrate on putting the wires in and everything else. So these are the little inserts that we need to put into the board. These hold the wires in for the stabilizer, and they just click in. They just clip in. He says they just clip in. Let me check I'm getting these the right way around. Yeah, okay. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to tuck under one edge of them, and as we tuck under that edge, we're then just going to tuck the front edge under as well, and it should all clip in nicely. Now this is quite fiddly, so I apologise if it takes me a little while. There we go. Do you prefer linear or tactile switches? I'm a big linear fan. I started off in the hobby being a huge fan of tactile switches. That has changed over time, and the longer time goes on and the more time I spend in the hobby and the more keyboards I type on, the more interested in linear switches I become. That being said, this is a tactile build. These are tactile brown Alps. Okay, so we're just installing all of these stabilizer housings first. And this is effectively what the wires clip into. Now we're going to need quite a lot of these, so it's going to take a few minutes to get this done. So that was everything in that bag. Do you know what? I'm going to put the keycaps back in the bag because they're all separated by row, so I want to make sure I've got the right rows and the right spaces. Whoops. And I also want to make sure I'm not throwing parts on the floor as well. So as long as we keep all the rows together, we'll be good. Okay, is there another bag with the stabilizer? Yes. This build is going to take me way longer than a normal build will be, but that's because it's a little bit more complex, a little bit more detail oriented, but everything is sorted by row, so when it comes to actually putting the keycaps on, it should be relatively quick. If I'm starting to run out of time, guys, as well, we won't loop the stabilizers today. I'll do that on a separate stream, or separately to the build later on. Okay. Kenny says, I've only really designed small Pro Micro based macro-ped cases and PCBs before, and I want to take the leap into designing a full board. Have you got any advice or tips for someone starting to design their own boards? I know this is basics at the moment. Just take your time and take it easy. Look at other things that have come before you. There's a load of resources out now. The Keyboard Atelier Discord by AIO3 has a ton of useful information. There's so much information out there that you can easily learn anything you need to about keyboarding. Just take your time, read, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask people if you've got any questions. Any upcoming keyboards that you look forward to? Yeah, the CMO. The CMO FE is one I'm really looking forward to. So this is a TKL. It's pretty basic in its design, but it's actually using a new material that's not been seen much in the keyboard hobby, which is called ALB-C3. Which is basically an aluminium bronze casting, but it's incredibly dense, and I'm kind of excited to use it. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. I also recently purchased a Lin Dolphin in the group buy, so I'm excited for that. Moon TKL as well. That's not too far away from shipping now, I don't think. There's always more keyboards coming. In terms of what's in group buy right now, I'm kind of excited for the Tomo. I know I'm selling it, so I don't want to sound like a shill, but I'm pretty excited for the Tomo. I think it's going to be better than people are expecting. The only build I've seen of it, I don't think did the board justice, so I think that's kind of exciting. What do you think of the i165? Yeah, I have a limited edition version of that. I have a FE version of that. It's actually sat just on the shelf over there. So I have brass. I have number 13, copper base. Sorry, not brass, copper base, with a copper plate and an E-white top. I also have a brass. Sorry, I also have a black top, copper base version as well. So I have a couple of them. I don't have one of the polycarbonate ones, but I think it's a really solid board, well designed. Lots of thought went into the design. It's pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with it. Oh man, there's so many stabilizers on this. Like, even when I've done this row, I think we've only done about half of them. I can't get this one in. Come on. There we go. Cloudline and Prototype Cloudline is going to be up there this year. I think Cloudline might end up being board of the year. Yeah, I've only got 20 units on Prototype as well, I think, if I remember rightly. I don't know if they're going to sell quick or slow, but I'm excited to see either way. It's going to be a real experience, is that? Okay. Right. What other bags do I have with stabilizers in? This one has stabilizers in. I feel like there's not enough stabilizers. I feel like I'm running out. Okay. Right. Some more stabilizers here. Let's get these in. I'm going to do this right side of the board first, then we'll come back and do the left afterwards. Is this Harris Heller? Yeah, it is. Yes, it is Harris Heller. KR1027 says, did you get in on the streamer priced Frog TKL? Yes, I did. Gion was kind enough to send me an invite to it. Yes, I was pretty excited about that. I have 7 or 8 F1.8Xs now. My aim is to collect one in every colour that it was made in. Although I don't actually know what I'm missing. I need to check that. I need to check what colours I'm missing. There we go. Right, okay, we must have some more stabilizers somewhere. I must have missed some. Okay, so we're taking all of the inserts out of that one. We're taking all the inserts out of that one. I'm going to keep these separate now. Okay, I have inserts in this packet. Right, let's get these inserts in. What are the centipede things above the desk mat? This is just a strip of diodes, so it's like a replacement set of diodes. There's in each of these little chambers, there's a little component in there, just goes on the PCB, just in case you damage any or lose some or they drop off. Sometimes on some PCBs it can be quite easy to knock off, especially if they're being hand soldered, so it just gives you some replacements. Hey dude, how long have you had the sexy beard? Pinky the Garbage. I've had the beard for about a year now. It was a lockdown thing initially, and then Brian and I, my co-host on Top Crack, we shaved our beards off for charity, and then now it's back. So it's been growing about a year now. About a year. It's been trimmed a couple of times at the barbers whenever they've been open between lockdowns, and I actually have an appointment next week to get it trimmed again. Zakiri says, if I recall right, you said that you'd be releasing a budget board at some point. Is that still coming? Yeah, at some point soon. Yeah, the BBTKL. If anyone can guess what BB stands for, I'd be very impressed. Okay, just going through all the bags of keycaps now to try and find some more inserts. Oh, we found the mother load. There's a load in this bag. Here we go. This is the bag I was looking for. Well, hello there. That was a terrible Obi-Wan impression. What am I thinking? Yeah, there's a lot of stabilizers in this pack. But there's a lot of stabilizers in this board, to be fair, as well. A lot of stabilizers. I wonder if you consider doing a version where it was like the Hyper 7 and the switches were actually point of sale style keycaps where they use 2 switches to activate them. That'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting. Okay, right, time to carry on with the stabilizer installations. I wish more designers would experiment with aggressive flex cuts, especially on stiffer plate materials like alloy and brass. Yeah, I think that's fine and valid. For Alps, which is what this build is, you probably don't want that. But yeah, I get that. I get that. I don't disagree. Aniki says, those are mounting pins for the TNT, which is a small PCB near to them. Oh, if you meant those bits, yes. I thought he meant the ribbon, which is just diodes. So I feel like this bag is going to give us all of the bits we need to finish off putting in these stabilizers. How many keyboards do I own? Golden ratio. Interestingly enough, I actually know the answer to this, and I didn't for a long time. But I own, as of right now, in my collection, not counting group buys or stuff that I have that's shipping to me, stuff that I have on hand right now, I have 214 keyboards, plus a vintage collection. I don't know how many boards are in my vintage collection. I have 214 different customs, and then I have my vintage collection on top. So that's everything from KBD fans to key cults and everything in between. It's not Big Boy. Oh, Dex. Now I know who you are. Hey man, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Good to see you. How are them boxes holding up, presently? How are those boxes doing? I'm interested to know. Tell me. Ruben's here as well. Ruben Across Keys guy. Guys, go give Ruben Across Keys a follow. He is another keyboard streamer and he's immensely talented. So definitely go give him a follow. Man, I'd forgotten how much I dislike putting in Alps stabilizers until just now. But we're almost there. I can see the home stretch now. Sweet BB Child, no. Bouncy Bellies, no. Big Board, nope. Bring me more beer, nope. Barbecue board, nope. Bang for your buck, nope. Brown's Best, nope. Brian's Bounty, nope. Bareback, nope. Budget Beast, nope. Bank Breaker, nope. Baked Beans, nope. Breakfast Bread, nope. None of those are right. Thoughts on Zeal V2 stabs versus Duroc stabs? Zeal V2 stabs are really solid. I think they're probably my favourite stabs on the market right now, but they're expensive. And because of that, I think Duroc V2s probably win out. They're not as expensive as the Zeal stabs, but they do have slightly more QC issues. I haven't really used the V2s. This is my personal stash of V2s. I actually need to use these yet. I've almost run out of V1 ones, and so this is my V1. Once this box runs out, then I'll be on to the V2s. But I'm not quite there yet. Soon though, soon. What do you find exciting about vintage boards? Genuinely interested. I think the design choices and the fact that there was no standardization at the time meant that people were doing so many different things, and loads of people had great ideas, and not all of those ideas got made into what became the standard kind of layouts. So the fact that vintage boards are where it all goes back to, where it all started, and the fact that they all have so many different features and functionality that you don't necessarily see on modern boards is the cool thing. The designs were wacky, the keycaps were wacky, everything is from there. The JO1 and JO2 are inspired by more vintage boards than modern boards, to be honest. So yeah, that's my love of vintage boards. Plus I just like old things. Like I collect cars, and I have more vintage cars than modern cars, like a lot more. Like, most of my cars are vintage cars. Okay, my coffee's gone really cold, but I'm thirsty, so. I thought my 8 boards were a lot. 8 boards is a good start, yeah. I have one keyboard. Nothing wrong with that, Victor. Bloody brilliant. Nope, not quite. Alps. Yes, this is a Brown Alps Keymax build today. That's what we're doing today. Brown Alps. British Bake Off. No. Where did I get those storage boxes? The storage boxes I use, I had to buy in bulk. So these boxes, I have 2 sizes. This is a small, and I also have larger ones. But I had to buy like 1,000 of each to get a good price on them, and I just bought 1,000 of each, and they're in the warehouse now. But I have a lot of key sets in my collection, so they get used for that as well. Is this the most expensive board you ever built? No, I've built a number of TGR boards. Probably built maybe 15 TGR Jane V2 CEs over the past year or two. And I think they retail for like $7,000 on the aftermarket now. So they're probably the most expensive boards. In terms of buying it at cost, prototypes are probably more expensive than this sometimes. So I think some prototypes are probably going to be more expensive. Bad Bougie, no. What direction is the mechanical keyboard scene heading in? It's getting bigger. Like, it's just getting bigger. There's going to be more designs. There's going to be more innovation. There's going to be new mounting methods coming. I already know of a few, and I'm really excited about them. There's going to be more typing experiences, more switches, more keycaps, more colors. You name it, there's going to be just more. And I think that's where it's going. I don't think it's a bubble that's going to pop anytime soon. I think it's just going to carry on going. I think it'll level off, and then it'll have a lull for a little bit, and then it'll grow again, because people just want a decent typing experience. They're sat at their computers 8 or 9 hours a day. They want a good tool to do their job with. There are so many people out there that use a keyboard every day that aren't in the hobby that will come into the hobby. Okay, so now we've got all of the stabilizer connectors in here. The next job is to start installing the keycaps and installing the teensy. So I think what we're going to do first is we're probably going to install the teensy, and then we can start to get things working. So we're going to flip the board back over. I'll zoom back in because this is where we're going to be working, just in this little area here. So you'll see here that there's a load of little holes, and in those little holes we're going to put this, which is basically an extender, and it's just going to lift up and provide pins to put our teensy on. So this is our teensy, this is our little controller. This is what's going to power the board. I'm just going to refer back to the Keymax website. I'll show you that now, and we'll see what I have to do. Okay, so that's nice and simple. So you can see there right in the middle image, that's what we're doing right now. And ta-da, it's done, it's in place. That's it. Okay, next job now is to solder this in place and make sure the connections are all correct. So I'm going to get my soldering iron back. I'm going to get our solder back. I'm going to take this slow and we're just going to go pin, 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 pin all the way down. Just going to take it really steady. We're just going to solder one pin in first, and we're going to use that pin to hold the whole thing in place. There we go. Now we're just going to come down pin by pin. And we're just going to solder this together really neatly. I'm not going to add too much solder. Just going to add enough to get a nice little teardrop shape on the components we're touching. I'm going to try and make sure we don't get any cross flow of the solder. Make sure we're not bridging anything. And the beauty of this actually is there's a load of unused pins as well, so if we wanted to break anything out of this, we could do later on. Okay. And there we go. So you can see, guys, that's all soldered. All of the pins are soldered pretty neatly, not too terribly. Could have been worse, could have been better. Oh, I've missed one pin. I've missed a pin. Typical. Missed one pin right at the front here. There we go. Now we're done. Baba Booyah. No. Sorry. Batman Begins. Nope. Do you see in-store purchases for products, switches, keycaps? Yeah, people can come and visit my workshop and buy in-store if they want here. I don't have a shop as such, but I have a warehouse. They can come and buy in the warehouse. People have done. If you mean in stock, yes. I carried a key set in stock last week. DCS Twilight. Not Twilight. Nightfall. DCS Nightfall we did. We bought it and had it in stock and we did it that way. Other keycaps are coming that way. I made a fairly basic board for the girlfriend and she loves it. She wants to take it into the office with her as our office one now feels weird and not as nice. I think lots of people would like a mechanical keyboard and would prefer the experience of typing on one, but might not want to dive completely into it. I think that's completely true. I think absolutely, yeah. What is the music? It's Harris Heller Stream Beats. I'm kind of disappointed this guy didn't assemble his own MCU in the garage. Fair. Keymax says, not even using blue tack to hold it in place. Dude, I'm not you. I don't need blue tack to hold my parts in place. Okay, so now that's all soldered in together. I think the next job is to work out how it's all going to fit into the case. And then once it's in the case, we can start to do the rest of it. Okay, so the next job is to take our USB connector, zoom the camera back out actually. Okay. So now we've got the build. We're going to get the bottom of the case. And we're going to fit the USB connector into here. So this is the tray of the case. Now the USB connector fits in down here, but it actually screws to the outside of the case. So we're going to fit that first. Once that's fitted, we can then start to install the rest of the board. So I'm going to undo the screws from this. And this is where I think something like the unified daughter board that all other manufacturers are using at the minute would just benefit this a little bit. We're going to pop this into that slot, and then we're going to drop the screws back in, and we're going to screw it in. We're not going to screw it all the way in, we're just going to go semi tight, like just so we can feel it gripping, and that means that we can just get a nice alignment with it, and then we can tighten it up when we do the second one. So we're just going to, as we screw this second one in, we're going to make sure that the USB port's nice and neatly aligned, and then we're going to tighten that one down. And then we're going to come back and we're going to tighten the other one up whilst holding it in position. Just like that. And now we have that in place. The next thing we need is the cable, which is here. So this is an internal cable that's used to connect the daughter board to the teensy. So let me just check which way around this goes. Red to the outside of the case, black to the inside. So there we go. So that's going to sit on here like so. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to plug the cable into the teensy. Just going to check that that can't go any further. There we go. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to push the cable towards the back of the case where it needs to stay. In fact, we've got a kink in it, so let's just pull this off, get the kink out. I think this is something that could be done a little bit better with a smaller cable, like a JST cable as well. I think we see a lot of boards used these days. We're just going to pop that in there. Just going to try and tuck that cable back as far as I can because I don't like where it's sitting right now. Yeah, I'm not happy with how that's sitting in there. Just trying to take it out of the way of the teensy itself. There we go. That's better. That's all sitting much better now. So there we go. That's all the plate assembly aligned and everything plugged in. Blues Brothers, nope, that's not correct. Zach's going to have to disappear since he's massively slowing down my essay writing. Get to it, man. Get to it. Couldn't have used the same principle as this, but screw from the inside. I just feel like using a JST connector and using instead of using a teensy, having everything on the PCB would just be a cleaner implementation. I just feel like that's one step that I would do to try and improve the board. Crewer says, just to satisfy curiosity, what was your day job that you can afford 9 cars and 200 keyboards? Well, technically, officially, I'm retired now, so I have no income. I don't make any money out of Prototypist at all at the minute. That might change in the future, but right now I make no money out of Prototypist. Before that, I used to be a senior program manager for a large financial institution. Yeah, I did that for a long time. I earned good money, very good money, and I'm very, very privileged to have done so. So there we go. Okay, now it's time to put the top case on, and then we're going to flip the board over and screw it together. There we go. And then now we're going to screw this together. So we should have some short screws and some long screws. The long screws, I believe, are going to go at the back. Then we're going to put a short screw at the front. And we're going to go diametrically opposed as we screw these together because there's so many screws and it's such a wide board. I just want to make sure that we're evening out the pressure as we screw it in. So we're going to go diametrically opposed and work our way around the board. And when we tighten it up, we're only going to go until it feels tight, and then we're just going to do a quarter turn more. So we're not going to try and screw these together super tight or anything else. We're just going to screw them until we feel pressure, then do a quarter turn just so it holds in place a little bit better. As I say, we're just going to keep doing this diametrically opposed until we get through to the end. Okay. What are people guessing? I'm late to the party. It's a Streaky Bison. They were trying to guess the name of a board that I'm doing. So it's called the BBTKL, and they were trying to guess what BB stands for. Okay. Always nice that there's included extra screws. So thank you very much to Willem for that. There's 2 extra screws for the short ones and 1 extra screw for the long ones, which is good. I'm going to pop the bump-ons now. We've got the board turned over. These are just nice circular ones, so dead easy to implement. Again, there's going to be an extra bump on as well, which is always welcome. Never know when you might lose one. Okay, then we can pop those to one side. Okay, and now guys, it's time for keycaps. This is the big part of the job, because there's so many different keycaps and so many different stabilizers to put in on this board that I feel like it's going to take us quite some time to actually get it all put together. But here we go. Let's start off with this bag. Now all the bags are separated by rows, so this should be relatively easy to do. We do have some stabilized keys. I'm going to put those to one side. There should be 3 stabilized keys for this. Just going to put all of those to one side, then we've got them there. So this is the QWERTY row. So again, I'm just going to get the layout up on the website, just so I can see how the whole board looks. Making sure I'm putting everything in the correct positions. Okay, so QWERTY row is this row here. We've got 2 keycaps, and then we start with the Q. And bear in mind, guys, that these are double shot keycaps. Look at these. I can't get over it. This is a double shot keycap that the guy makes in his own garage. Truly double shot, and look how thick they are. Okay, so I'm just going to go through pushing these into place. I still can't get over the fact that he makes these keycaps himself. Wait, what? Why do we have so many different variations here? So, just to confirm, there's like 3 different variations of what we can put on the end of this row. Interesting. Really interesting. Like, I wasn't expecting there to be so much variation, but there is. We're just going to go with these, just because I prefer those in style. Okay, so that's those caps done. The rest of the row is then made up of 1.5 U caps. I'm just trying to get the sculpt the right way. Just making sure we've got the sculpt in the right orientation. And we have a 1.5 U cap just here. Wait. Yeah, that one went on wrong. We put that one upside down. Come on, there we go. We've got a 1 U cap just there, and then on the outside we've got these 2 caps to put in, which are slightly larger. And that's because these are using stabilized keys. Do you know what? We're going to do all of the stabilized keys at the end. I'm going to come back and we'll do all the stabilized keys at the end. What I'll do is I'll just leave them in a row orientation. So we've got the two keycaps there. I was not the King of England. No. Budget build. No. It wasn't budget build. That's not what BB stands for. Do you also have the nice caps with legends? Yeah, I have legends on the caps, yeah. I have 2 of these boards. Like, I've got another one that's already built. Like, look how cool this is. Ballbuster? No. Basic build? No. Basic bish? Bish? What's bish? I don't know. No. Basic board? No. Has anyone even been close? Some of the words being used are right. No, no one's got any close though. Retro style for the win? 100%. B-box? No. It sounds like a stressful job. What is your educational background, if you don't mind me asking? So I have an MBA from Manchester. So there we go. That's the short answer. Did high school, did A-levels, went and worked, and then work paid for me to do an MBA. There we go. That was it. That was my life. Okay, these are the blanks. Don't need those. I think think these are all stabilized keys, so this is going to be for that top row. So we'll put that up here. Okay. I think those are all blanks as well, so we won't use those. I think those are all blanks as well, and more. Okay. So there should be 2 stabilized keys in this one, I think. And we're going to put these at this side, just so that we know where they are. Because the stabilized keys, I'm not looking forward to doing. Like, Alps stabilized keys are always a pain, they're always frustrating. So we're going to leave these to last, but we're going to make sure we've got all of the right rows together. There we go. So those are all for that row. Those are for this row. Those are for the top row. We're getting there. Okay. So we're going to start off here with the double colon in the top corner. I need to work out which way these sculpts go. Okay. And then we're going to just carry on the full thing from here. Beautifully budget. No, close though, close. Yeah, I did see the video. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. Catch up with chat now. Bare bones, no. Bubbling Brook, no. Arcane is going to bed. Good night, man. Glad to see you here. Budget baller, no, no. Let's go in order. Let's do these in order. Yeah, I've been watching Keymax actually make the caps on his Insta as well. It's pretty cool to watch. Okay, there we go. That's that row done. We don't have any of the 1U caps to use. We're not going to use any of the blanks, so I'm going to pop these back in the bag. So many keycaps. Like, it's just nuts how many keycaps are. Okay, next bag. There should be, I think, 5 stabilized keys in this one, unless this is the bottom row. Yeah. Getting there now. It's starting to feel like a keyboard now, guys. It's starting to feel like a keyboard. Okay, and then all of the rest of this row is going to be apart from this one, which is going to go here, the rest are all 2U caps. So we're going to just pop these to one side. And there we go, that's that back there. Okay. British budget? No. First or second word was close? Neither. Brexit build? No. Beautifully British? No. You guys are not the best guessers. You'll get it one day. Do you know what would be really cool? Is if I could have this board with an ISO keycap set. That would be awesome. Okay. We need one new keycap just here, and then a 1.25U there. And then we've got 3 of these over on this side. So you can see we've got quite a lot of stabilized keys to put in, which is not going to be the part that I'm looking most forward to. Okay, so then there's going to be 2 for that row, which we're going to put here. And then we must have a bag for the bottom row. Where have we put that? Here it is. So we know we've got our space bar, which is probably going to be the easiest of the keys to put in. I'm going to put all of the bottom row up here, just so we keep it all separate and we know. There we go. There we go. So then in terms of this bottom row, we've got 1 new keycaps in the corner. And then we've got 1 new keycaps over here. A 1.5U keycap in this bottom corner, and then everything else is now stabilized. Is ISO the norm where the Keymax creator is? I figured Eastern Europe would be ISO and thus his boards would be ISO. So this is actually based around the old Symbolics boards. So the old Symbolics boards that were designed for the Lisp programming language, it's based around that. And that didn't have ANSI or ISO. This isn't ANSI, this isn't ISO, this is kind of like, it just is what it is. It's not either. Whether it bears resemblance to any or not is a completely different question. Okay, so this is the part that I genuinely detest, is with Alps stabilizers. Let's see if this board decides to make it easy on me. Okay, I need a pair of tweezers, I think. So yeah, I might take the case apart actually, just so I can get into these stabilizers a little bit better. Yeah, I'm going to take the case apart, guys. Give me a second to do this. Just want to be able to get into the stabilizers nicely, so J1 Breaking Bad edition? Nah. I'm not the type of person to go Breaking Bad. Although I did enjoy the show. Yeah, as Anarchy says, ISO and ANSI didn't exist at the time. Layouts were designed more around the system that they were used for, so Symbolics was very much based around the Lisp programming language. So, like Vim caps are dedicated to Vim, it's kind of like that, but for a whole board instead of being designed for regional dialects and variants. But that's because they were all used for programming rather than data input and word input at one point. The use of keyboards has changed dramatically over time. Whilst a lot of people still code, like loads more people in the interim period use them for office functionality. So that's where the designs went. Okay, let's just take off the top case. That should give us all the room that we need now. Basically all I want to do is, you can see under here where the little clips in, I just needed access to them so I could just clip the wire in. And this is going to be so easy from now. Like, I was nervous about this before because I hate Alps stabilizers, and I will go back and lube these at another point. I just need to get it done for now because we've been streaming for like 3 hours. Okay, so we said this was the bottom row. So let's see if we can get these installed. I'm just going to go back to the build guide and just check how he installs the stabilizers. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm installing them right. So it looks like they're installed like so. And as I say, we're not going to lube these just yet. I will go back and lube these at a later date. I just want to get the build done for today, and then I'll lube these to taste afterwards. Unless I find that I've got loads of time left. Okay, so that's the wire installed. Now what we can do is we can flip that over and we can pop that into place, and we should then just with the tip of the screwdriver, once the keycap's pressed in, we should then be able to just go in with the tip of a screwdriver and just push the wire into position. Okay, can't quite get into this one. There we go. It's a little bit more involved than doing an MX style stabilizer, but it's not overly difficult. It's significantly easier than I was expecting it to be, given the fact that Alps stabilizers are usually notoriously terrible for installation. At least in my experience anyway. Your experience, of course, may vary. There we go. Okay. Right. Next. I think this one was the top row here. Let's just check that. Just checking the profile now. That looks about right. I should have installed these row by row really, rather than leaving it to the end, but my nervousness got the better of me. I should have just been a little bit more confident because this is way easier than I expected it to be. There we go. Yeah, usually you do lube Alps stabilizers. I'm choosing not to keep noob on this bit at the minute, but I will go back. It's purely because I've been streaming for like 3 hours now and I've still not finished the build. So I just don't have the time to lube all of these stabilizers right now because there is a lot of them. But yes, I will absolutely lube these. You lube them in a very similar manner actually. So you lube where you put the stabilizer into the housing, you lube just there, and then you also lube just in these little clips that are in these little white clips that are in the plate as well. You lube into those too. Okay. I think we're just slightly missing this one. I'm going to take this keycap off if I can. I feel like it's just not quite in there properly. Ooh. Super stiff. Okay. Okay, so you lube just where I'm clipping the wire into the stabilizer housing here. And you'd also lube just where you clip it into the plate as well. There we go, we've got it in this time. Oh, wait. No wonder it wouldn't go in. This is the wrong size. This isn't a 2U keycap. Does this go here instead? So there we go, guys. The keycap is the wrong size. It's a different size even. Not wrong, but different. Perhaps I spoke too soon when I said that this was turning out to be a little bit easier than I expected it to be. The keyboard community needs to ping Twitch and tell them lube isn't a bad word, at least for us. Do you get stopped for using that word on Twitch? I don't think I've ever had an issue with it. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic with my headphones. I apologize. That doesn't fit. Why doesn't that fit? How interesting. How interesting. That must be meant for a different place. Well, there we go. That explains that. It's meant for down here. How did I get the rows so messed up? So wait, does that mean that this one's in the wrong place as well? Did we put the wrong row in here? I think we did. I think we did, guys. There we go. That was why. We put the wrong keycaps in the wrong row. Well, I'll be. Things you learn. Okay. There was me wondering why I was struggling for so long, and it's just because I was being silly, putting things in the wrong row. But in all fairness, this is a completely new sculpt. Like, it's not like a sculpt that exists. It gets blocked and have to click to say it's okay. Interesting. I haven't experienced that on any of my my streams yet. Unless they mean it's on the user end. Okay, we're getting there now, guys. We're getting there. Keycap installation that takes an hour. Who'd have thunk it? Okay. So now I need to work out which of these goes on the next two rows. So this is where I'm going to have to look down the length of the keyboard and work out which keycaps goes on which rows. So that's definitely this row. Let me check out that layout again. Are any of these keys shorter? Do I need to be wary of any of these keys being shorter? Yes. Okay. So some of the stabilizers are longer and some of the stabilizers are shorter than others. Things you learn. And it's not just the stabilizers as well, it's the wires too, which is why I was having problems before. But hey, we figured it out now. We've got it now. Right. Slowly making it work, guys. Slowly making it work. We'll get there. I think this is the longest build stream I've done in probably the last 2 years. Like, since I did the Hyper 7, I think this is definitely the longer build stream. Okay. Right. 2 more caps and we're done with this side. This row even, sorry, this row. And last one for this row, and then we're gonna move on to the row above, and then we've got the final row to do, which is all stabilized keys, and then we can see what the build sounds like. These are so faffy. The limitations of Alps technology is its stabilizers. There we go. Let me know what you think, guys, so far. Are you guys enjoying the build? Is this an interesting one for you guys, or is this not something that you'd want personally? Is Alps endgame? Can Alps be endgame? Who knows? Okay. 3 hours into the stream, and we're finally on the final row of keycaps to install. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. At least these ones are all the same size and all the same shape, so I shouldn't have any issues getting them into the board. getting into a little bit of a rhythm, I think. Just as we end the build. I've never had a board that's quite this difficult to get all of the keycaps in though. Whew. I feel like you guys have stopped talking, so you guys are probably not watching anymore, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I've probably bored you all half to sleep with this build today. But thank you for those that are sticking out. Christopher is not. Thank you very much for the follow a few minutes ago. I apologize I missed that. Villarosa Keeps as well. Casey Pang too. Thank you very much. Max Feeling's still watching. Dude, this is so frustratingly slow. There's no action here at all. I'm really sorry about that. So many Alps stabilizers. How many subs go into this board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 stabilizers. 21 stabilizers. Which is why I'm not lubing. Can you imagine how long this would have taken if I'd have lubed them on stream today? Like, we'd still be here in an hour's time and I wouldn't have even been done with the stabilizers lubing, never mind installing. I will go back and lube these though, but I'll do that on my time, not on your time. Three more stabilizers left to go. Chilling on the couch, prefer TV watching. Nice. Yeah, I watch a lot of streams, but I tend to have them on in the workshop while I'm working around. But it would be nice to just chill out on a couch and watch stream for a change, I think. I would like to do that. What's the actual practicality of a modern Lisp board? Well, you don't have to use it for Lisp. You can use it for anything. I tend to use it for data inputting. Like, it's just a really nice board to type on. You can use it for anything. There's so many keys that you can do whatever you want with it. If you're a programmer, you could use it for modern languages as well. You could just have, combine keys for certain variables or certain patterns of code that you want to use in different places. There's a load of things you could do with it. Okay, can't believe almost done. Whew, there we go. Okay, now we can put the case back on, screw it all back together. I'm just going to collect all these stabilizer bits that we need. All these spare parts. Oops. There we go. There we go. Right, screws. again, I'm going to screw this back together diametrically opposed. Just make sure we're evening out the pressure. We're going to tighten the screws until they're tight, but not overly so, just until you feel them tighten up. And then once you feel them tighten up, we're going to just do them a quarter turn more. No more than that. Been out in the sun flying drones. This is a good wind down. Nice. What type of drones do you have? I've been looking at buying one, but I want the type that will follow me, so I can do like car style videos where the drone follows me around. DJ is the way to go for that. Okay. I haven't really looked too much into drones, but I would like one. Okay, one more screw, and then we're done. Whew, what a build that has been. But there we go, guys. This is a Brown Alps Keymax build. All fully done. Just needs to be programmed, which I'll do tomorrow, and then loop the stabilizers, which I'll do tomorrow. Put your screwdrivers back in the right place, Jay. Please, come on. But there we go, guys. Would you guys like to hear a sound test now? Should we listen to how this board sounds? Let's pause the music for a second. Let's pause the music, and let's listen to how it sounds. Okay. I'm going to take my headphones off a little bit so I can hear. Oh man, I love vintage Alps boards. Like, how good does that sound? Spacebar needs lubing. Bear that in mind. Okay, that sounds so good, and I'm super happy with, like, compared to the Salmon Alps. I think the Salmon Alps one actually sounds a little bit better. I just feel like the Salmon Alps sounds just a touch better. Like, with the feel on these are by far the best tactile switches you can get. Like, they're so good. This one definitely sounds better though. I need to put the spacebar back in this one. I'm hoping I can manage that without taking the board apart. I don't think I can. I don't think I can manage this without taking the board apart. Let's see. Let's see. I feel like I'm gonna damage the board if I do it too much. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the board apart to get the space bar back in on that one. But yeah, these sound so good. Yeah, I'm still at the warehouse. Yeah, I'm here for 19 hours a day, 5 days a week. So it's 11:30 p.m. here, Frosties. I've been at the warehouse since I was late this morning actually. Normally I'm here for about 6-7 a.m. I didn't get here until 9 a.m. this morning. I was really late. But yeah, I'm here till late. I'm actually at the warehouse. Now through this wall is the warehouse. Yeah, this is the office in the warehouse. But man, I'm so happy with this. Like, Tactile Alps, it just feels so good. This one sounds better. The Salmon Alps sounds better, but the Tactile Alps feels better. So there we go. 2 Keymacs. 2 Keymacs. There we go. Super duper happy with them. The anodizing is the same. It's just the fact that the light's slightly different and it's picking up the light slightly differently. But there we go. 2 Keymacs, guys. Super duper happy with these. I still can't get over how good these double shot caps are for someone making them at home in the garage. Like, they're better than G&K or anything else. It's unbelievable how good they are. And the profile's super nice too. It's probably closest to a cross between MT3 and Cat, but it's not either. But there we go. He, as far as I understand it, he does do the anodizing himself. Yeah, as far as I understand it, he does do the anodizing himself, which is kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts. The anodizing on my first one is actually slightly better. There's still this seam that you can see. There's like a dark seam in the right light. It's difficult to show on camera, but I promise. There you go. You can see it right now. There is this seam that happens on both of the boards. Don't know what causes that, but I suspect it may be anodized in 2 different batches or something. But yeah, he makes the whole thing himself. CNC mills the case. Programs a PCB. Creates a version of Via because he didn't know knew it existed. Creates his own daughter board because he didn't know they existed. Uses the TNT to program it. It's kind of nuts. What am I printing? So little tubs. So the bottom printer is actually out of commission at the moment. It's got some filament stuck in it. I need to unplug that tomorrow. It's my fault I let it run out while I wasn't here. But I'm printing little tubs like storage bins for... I've got a big plan chest, which is a drawer that's basically 5 foot wide by 3 feet deep. And they're about that in height, like 55 millimeters in height. So I'm 3D printing little tubs that I can put all of my screws, small screwdrivers, tools, bits, laser attachments, all of that kind of stuff in there. So I've got everything to hand. That's the plan. I've printed about 7 days worth so far. 24 hours, 7 days a week. I'll fix the other printer before I go home tonight, and they'll both be up and running. Let me make this one bigger, and you can see exactly what it's printing right now. There you go. So you can see it's printing tubs. So it's printing a load of 1U tubs, and it's printing a 4U tub in the middle, and then a 3x1U tub across the top. So it's 2x2 in the bottom left-hand corner, a 3x1 across the top, and then all of the others are just 1U/1U tubs. So yeah. So they're 45 millimeters by 45 millimeters square. So there you go. Or 1 unit is anyway. So printing a lot. Printing a lot. But there we go, guys. That's it. That's it for the stream. Thank you so much for being with me. It's now time to find someone to raid. So I'm going to take a look on Twitch. You guys let me know if there's anyone you think I should be raiding on Twitch. Just give me a shout. Let me see who is about. Let's see who's in Makers and Crafting. See if anyone's doing anything cool. Disastertron's live. We could raid him. Woodcraft by Owen. He's making some wood stuff. Kiwi Keeps. I don't see Kiwi Keeps. Let me see if I can find them. Okay, yeah, I found Kiwi Keeps. Let's do that then. Let's raid Kiwi Keeps. We will absolutely do that. I'm chucking a follow, and then we'll start the raid. Let's raid Kiwi Keeps. So thank you very much, guys, for being here. I thoroughly appreciate it. Everyone who came from the Key Cult raid as well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here while I build a brown Alps keyboard. It's kind of cool. We're going to go raid Kiwi Keeps. I want you guys to say something really wholesome to them. Tell them how you hope they have a great day. Wish them a really, really, really great day, okay? Thank you so much for your time, guys. I'm going to head out now, and we're going to go and raid Kiwi Keeps. I'll be there for a little bit as well. So make sure you're really nice to them and tell them that you hope they're having a great day. Thanks very much for being here, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.